meet?
Robert Sarkis.
Hi, Robert. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Susan Tenenbaum.
Susan, nice to meet you. How's it going?
I'm well.
Good. Am I the last one to join?
You are.
Sir Wolf. Yes, okay. Perfect.
And I ordered some red. I hope you like red.
Oh, thank you. You know, I don't drink. But you guys can enjoy it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
More for us.
Yes, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. How was your visit so far?
It's been good. Right?
It's productive.
Good.
Would you like something to drink besides water today? I heard
You know, I'll just start with water for a minute.
Okay.
Thank you.
And are you okay? Do you want something else to drink?
Just
Iced
water.
tea or anything?
Water.
Okay, I have this crap, but
Okay.
I'll bring you more water.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank
Right
you.
back, of course.
So your visit was good?
It's productive.
Oh, good.
That makes it good.
Yeah, and you guys just flew up from LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. So that was a short trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different than Baltimore.
Yes, it's true.
Did you fly directly out there, or did you have a layover?
I don't even remember. I had a layover. I always have a layover.
I was the direct one. You had a layover. So sorry.
I'll pass around menus for you guys. There's a stack while I'm sitting here. I come here frequently enough. I think I'm pretty much, yeah.
Are you close?
I'm pretty close.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I just end up, we do meetings with people from Sacramento, and it's kind of a close in-between from our office, and so we do a lot of meetings here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they know you.
They know me pretty
Okay,
well.
okay.
Yeah, we'll see which one comes out.
So what's good on the menu?
Oh my goodness, there's a lot of things, but if you feel like, I mean, they do really great like flatbread pizzas that are really good. Their salads are great. If you like blue cheese, their Oregon blue cheese salad's really, really good. It has a little bit of spice to it.
Okay.
Sandwiches are really good. I'm trying to think if I've ever had anything bad here.
Okay, on the panini, is it George?
The George, yeah.
Oh, George?
Yeah.
Okay. I would have said Gorge.
Oh, Gorge, thank you. It's the
Okay.
Gorge sandwich, yes.
Okay.
The Gorge, yeah. That one's actually really good. I've had that a few times.
And you said the Oregon salad?
The Oregon blue cheese salad is good.
Okay.
Quite heavy.
Wow, crab.
Cheese.
Tell them.
Good grilled cheese.
Yeah. Gonna keep baby up.
What looks good to you, Robert?
I really like the look of the bolognese pasta.
Yeah, that sounds. I don't think I've ever had that. That sounds really good too.
Yeah.
The wine does smell good. Who's it from? Is it local?
It's Argentinian.
Oh, Argentina.
This is Robert's recommendation.
Layer cake, huh?
And it's
It's
layer
like cake bread is what makes me think of cake bread sellers.
So, why do you like this? You were telling me. What is it? Just
It's, I don't know, it's
you
really
eat a lot of
smooth.
pasta, so it's you don't care.
Yeah, we have a lot of great wineries around here. You know, I mean, Napa's close, but then we have a lot of local places up here that is really great too. So, my parents used to bottle their own wine, so it's all,
And you don't drink?
I know.
What happened?
I know. It's really just a preference.
Did you at one time?
And I'm not
then-
I did, yeah, and I have. I mean, it's kind of a gluten, you know, there's a lot of gluten in wine too, but it's in wheat beer, there's a lot of wheat. Some people just doesn't sit well with them. I'm one of them.
Are you, what is it, gluten?
Intolerant? Not entirely, no, thank goodness.
But you can tell a little difference if you...
Oh, yeah. So just, you know, some things bother me worse than others. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are your parents still speaking to you? They
Yes,
have all this wine?
they do. And they've given me a lot of it for gifts. I've given it to people. And it's funny, I have to tell you, I swear 5 times out of 10 I give gifts for wine for people, and they'll say, oh, I don't drink. And I'm like, my gosh, I just can't seem to yeah, it's interesting. CEOs of hospitals and different things, and they're like, oh yeah. But they're like, I'll make good use of it. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
This was kind of curious because It's Mendoza, Argentina, but it's bottled in Napa.
Oh,
So
interesting.
They must keg it up here.
Wow.
which is
That's interesting.
sick.
So yeah, so I'd love to hear a little bit about you guys. I know that I think I saw Biomax at a NAF conference a year ago, but I don't know if that's when you guys started or sort of the history of the company.
A
But
little
it'd
over
be,
a year. Yeah. Our first NAF was in
2014.
Okay.
2014.
I think. And so I was reading up and getting the scoop on you.
Yeah.
And then was hoping to see you in Baltimore.
I was hoping to be there.
Okay.
Change of plans.
So I was just glad that I got a chance to talk to Megan and that you were open to maybe not partnering, but seeing what we can do to be financially profitable for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got this, you might want that.
Yeah.
You have so much more expertise than I'm sure. How long is
2010.
2000, oh, okay, so 5 years. So
Yeah.
you're
5
5 years
years.
down the
Yeah.
road.
Wow.
I know, it feels like 30.
Really?
It's just like, yeah, it's exhausting. Yeah, but 5 years. It feels so much longer than that. But
Don't
still,
tell me that.
right? I
don't
know.
hear that.
Well, I was gonna say, so tell me a little bit. So, is it your first business?
Yeah, well, yes, for
Okay.
a startup.
Okay.
And my whole reason for getting into it, I feel like I've come in the back door. I used to work with women really doing counseling, and
I think I saw on a website a women's downtown clinic in LA. Was that you were on? Okay.
Yeah, way back in scary times.
Okay, yeah.
So
When clinics were getting burned to the ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was mainly dealing with women.
Yeah.
The whole stigma and that was attached to them and really trying to help them. So it was my niece that was working with researchers. They needed
Tissues.
material.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of the ideas just started percolating. I thought this is really a great. This is a silver lining to what could be a challenging, difficult time.
Was your niece down in LA as well?
No, she's up in this area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, more San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay.
Where she was.
Did she work with ABR?
No.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
like
Yeah.
parent and
Yes, yeah, parent of those guys. No. So she was working for like academic.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was in school.
Yeah.
So anyway, one thing led to another, and I thought this could be if I get the right people because I know nothing about the science and I know.
She keeps referencing you as stars, and I see this.
Yes, I know nothing about that. I'm really just wanting to be able to work with the women that I still work with.
Yeah.
And being able to talk with them, and they're more than willing to donate if we can. Well, the Planned Parenthood, talking to the women there, they said yes, overwhelmingly the women are very positive. They're very about if they know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
what can be done in science?
Yeah.
What can I don't understand it. I just listen to Robert. He tells me what's going on, and somehow be able to transfer that information over to women, and then it's so profitable.
That's great.
So quickly.
Yeah.
That's a good thing too.
Good. Yeah, and so I know too, I think Megan mentioned when you guys just started working with some of the Planned Parenthoods in LA, right?
LA, mostly Denver, Texas. That's where they have the volume that we want.
Got it.
The problem is that many of the sites, you probably know this in LA, are maxed out. They're
Yeah.
already partnered up with either ABR has
Yeah.
San Francisco or Novogenics has Los Angeles,
Yeah.
and there's a couple other, I don't know what I can share, but there's the Southern California area is very saturated right now.
So they weren't able to give us the volume that
Yeah,
we needed.
yeah.
And then what I saw, I had one incident where I had a person that I promised something to and I couldn't deliver. And I told Robert we need to find, places that are able to
Produce the volume you need.
yes,
Yeah.
so that we're not looking. Oh yes, we can get you this.
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt. So you move the wine early. Do you want to switch places so that you can speak more?
I'm fine. I just moved it because I was literally like, it was right in the middle of my vision. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, that's and then when the volume, when we're able to contract with people that I feel 99% sure that we're going to be able to fulfill our side to researchers and
So many of them think they can, right? So many of them think they have the volume, and it's like not really. And
Right.
so many physicians are like, oh, I can totally procure tissue, and they can't. So it's just, it's a lot of misinformation. You deal with that quite a bit.
Right, right. So that was a learning curve for me. And but now that I feel, well, I know, and when there's an overabundance, I feel this is going to waste. Why can't we share what we have? So if you're interested and you need, I don't know what your need is.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to talk to you guys about that tonight too.
Okay, all right.
So let me ask just a couple other questions, which will help frame some of that a bit too.
Okay.
So you guys are based out of is it
Long
Norwalk?
Beach area, yeah.
Long Beach area. Okay. And so the company's down there. And how long has it been around? You said about 2 years, year and a half.
That
Was
we're
it to a
no,
year and a half?
a little over a year.
A little over a year. Okay. And about size-wise of the company, employee count rise, is it pretty still growing?
Still growing.
Okay.
In fact, yeah.
Okay. What kind of long-term goals? I mean, what are you guys sort of hoping, or what's your big dream? Like, if you're thinking about this, what's your sort of your long-term goal? Do you know yet? People ask me all the time too, and I'm like, but
Really?
yeah.
Did we have any questions? Do we need some time, or would we like to
Do
order?
you guys know what you're having?
Yeah.
You start down there then.
Oh yeah, because you don't have a menu. Are you done
No,
with
no,
this?
I was
You
gonna.
know what you want?
Yeah, we'll start with Megan then.
I'm gonna do the Rainier. Okay. Mixed greens come on the side with that. Is that okay for you? Sure. Okay. Is that for you?
Oregon
Oregon
salad.
blue. Small or large?
Large blue things.
Of course. What for you, sir?
The bolognese.
So good.
Really?
Love it.
I know. I'm just like listening to people just trying to decide if it's going to change my mind.
You always get the same thing.
You know what? I like. I'm like feeling like spicy out. I need the salmon.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
It is going to come with roasted veggies and a ginger cream sauce tonight.
That sounds great.
Or get salad.
Small or large?
I'll take the small one.
Okay.
It's okay. Big dream. Big dream.
Yeah. What's your big
Is
dream?
I would like to be able to add a lot to Hillary Clinton's purse.
I mean, to ask these guys, the minute she announced her candidacy, I have a signed picture from Hillary because my sister works in Congress. So it's on my, I like brought it into work the next day and propped it right on my desk. So, yeah.
So wouldn't you?
I know, I'm a huge Hillary fan.
That's my big. So, and I see, okay, how much money do I really need? I'm old. I don't need a bunch of money.
Right.
But looking around and seeing what's going on and what people that we need, and I would really like to be able to help fund that.
Yeah.
So I just see all of us that are trying to do what we're doing, the goals that we have, whatever they are. Everybody's going to have different goals. But we need key people, and those people need funding. So that's a bigger goal for me.
Yeah.
And so, wonderful.
Yeah. I'm a huge Hillary fan. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that would work into a goal for you.
Oh yeah. She's getting elected this time. It's a done deal. As far as I'm
Oh,
concerned.
so maybe I can save my money.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
need
right.
my money to go there.
Well, I'm sure she's going to need a lot of it, but yeah. Yeah, my sister works in Congress, and so she works predominantly for Republicans.
Really?
I know, kind of shocking, right? Everyone's always shocked by this, but yeah, her background, she's an attorney, and it's healthcare reform. And so she's very socially liberal and super into stem cell research and everything, but as far as healthcare reform goes, she lines up really well with the conservative group. Yeah.
Help me understand
I
that.
know. I don't know that I could explain it well enough because you know she just has all these opinions about Medicare and I don't know. It goes every time I try to have conversations with her, it gets a little bit daunting and confusing, as healthcare policy for the federal government tends to do. So yeah. So I don't know. I'm a big believer that if Canada and places like this can do it without an issue, we should have been able to figure it out. Europe's been doing it. I mean, if you're an American, you travel to London and you fall and break your leg, they just fix it for you. You know what I mean? But somehow we can't seem to figure out healthcare in the United States. So I just,
and we're shutting down clinics in the United States.
Yeah.
So let's be honest, I mean,
and we're cutting off funding to women's clinics. I mean, you just see it all over the place, right? And so it's a huge, issue. So, but yeah, so that's, so at one point when Hillary was running last time, I asked my sister to go down the hall and get a signed picture for me, and she did. So, yeah. It's on my desk. Yeah.
Different circle.
Yeah. So, so a little bit about us. So in 2010, I started the company, and it really started from the standpoint of procurement. So my background was all hospital-based, so not women's clinics-based, but hospital-based. I was pre-med through school, and thought I would do emergency medicine, and started working with transplant companies coming in to do cadaverous tissue collection for transplantation. And really saw a lot that wasn't being used and should be used. And, of course, transplant companies, won't collect from people that are diseased. And I knew a lot of disease researchers that were really struggling to get what they needed on that front. So that's sort of where it all started rolling for me. It was from the hospital sector. But as you guys know, and the requests that you get are pretty broad.
Right.
And so that's sort of why we ended up becoming broader and broader, as I'm sure is probably a similar story for you guys too. As the requests start to come in, you want to work with people.
Broader and not predictable.
Yeah.
Did you find that too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think that, and then for us, we started with a small lab. It was a lot of the researchers we were working with really focused that direction, and it's taken a ton of money and a ton of work to get. We have like a full cell isolation and cell processing lab. So that has taken on a whole life of its own in the core of our business. And so a lot of the sample requests now are really cell specific for us. A lot of our collections and things like researchers, I've started to find they focus to us at least to do something with the samples. Where in the beginning they kind of wanted them directly, and people still do, but I think they want us to do something. And so that's really where a lot of our knowledge base has expanded, and a lot of our emphasis has gone into that sort of expansion. And hence the need. I know when Megan was there, I think she mentioned to you guys, or to one of you, about the need for things in the fetal tissue range. We get a lot of requests for fetal liver tissue, but they don't want it directly. You guys might still get requests where they want it directly, but from us, they really want us to provide themselves from it.
That was a demonstrated competence, though.
That was a what?
There was a lot of requests, and there still are, for raw fetal tissue. And I'm sure you're getting a lot of requests for that. Everybody is. And one of the requests came into StemExpress for doing the cell isolations for them, for these specific cells, mainly 34s, but some other ones as well. And it was a process of optimizing that isolation technology that created that business. And then I jumped in because that was like a 3-year process.
If not 4, and just like a ton of money. So I mean, just an astronomical amount of money.
and has that been worth it? I don't mean to interrupt. Is constant benefit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely, it's been worth it, but it's still just. It almost bankrupted us. I mean, Megan knows. I mean, it really did. It almost did. Megan remembers those times, but it was just like, really, really brutal. And it's just not easily executable. I think that we've created now, so much proprietary knowledge in the way we do certain cell isolations, where big companies have even backed out of that space. Big companies, like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of companies that couldn't get the isolations right, have backed out of that space. So,
and you're still,
and we're,
good for you.
Yeah, so it's,
good for you.
That's why I'm exhausted.
Okay.
But I think that that's the piece where it's just for us.
Well, it was a different model. I mean, it was a procurement model, and you were, networking and that sort of thing. There's a number of people, ABRs in that space and that sort of thing, but to plant the seed and to develop a cell isolation.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, you see companies do it. I mean, you see companies start these sort of, even on the cell isolation side, I'm trying to remember in the last 5 years, I've seen a number of companies start and they just plummet, $10 million down the drain by the end of the year, and they're just done, So it's just, I don't know how we got through the other end of the light of the tunnel on that, but it was brutal. So now, we've sort of come out of that space, and a lot of clients, buy isolated cells from us, and they're like, you're the only people we're buying these cells from. And it's been great, but it's also really taxing on the amount of product we need to produce that. And so I think that,
this seems like a good fit then, a good marriage.
Right, and that's what I'm kind of was anxious to talk to you guys about, because I think on one side of it, I think we would be interested in really talking to you about what we could set up, even, potentially on an exclusive basis if you're open to that side of it. But I think we'll be ultimately, and I don't just say this to blow smoke, I think we'll ultimately probably be your best client for that, because it's because of what we end up doing on the backside, and that there are these companies that are not doing that anymore. So I think that, from that aspect, I was looking forward to chatting tonight.
So can you tell me, how could we help? What would you want from us? How could we best fit into your needs?
Yeah, well, I think I was looking on the website a little bit earlier today and just sort of seeing all the different things that you have listed there. I think on the topic, on the fetal tissue side of it, it'd be helpful for us to understand volume-wise. I mean, realistically, if we were to do an agreement with you guys, what do we think you could get? I mean, what do you feel like you could get?
Volume-wise?
Yeah,
okay.
On specifically liver tissue, because that's such an area of demand for us.
Right, so liver, and what about intact specimens?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you had intact cases, which we've done a lot, so we've sometimes shipped those back to our lab in its entirety. So that would also be great if you have
the entire case.
Yeah, because it's just, again, the procurement for us, I mean, it can go really sideways depending on the facility.
Yeah.
And then our samples are destroyed, and we're like, really? This was all so much work, and then just to have them be destroyed is awful. I mean, we have, researchers wait forever, and they want certain things perfectly done. So, we started bringing them back even to try to manage it from, procurement expert standpoint.
What goes wrong? Tell me what goes wrong that you think you're getting something and it doesn't come through.
Well, I would say with liver.
Misoprostol. Sorry.
You used to work in clinics.
We're good friends with Deb Nucatola and some of the people.
I like Deb Nucatola. Yeah.
So see, you understand this and you know it right away. So explain that. I'm just.
Well, I shouldn't say it's not the fault of misoprostol, because misoprostol can be used in conjunction with LAMs and you get actually really good results. But the problem is the model that some of them wanted to move towards of the one-day prep, or the not just one day, but one day everything.
Yeah, one day.
In which case, you're not going to get the kind of cervical dilation that you need to, which
And the suction just destroys everything. I mean, it just is. It gets to the point where, I mean, you could look at 60 cases and get nothing. I mean, it's really time intensive. And so, I think for us, for the liver tissue, focusing to that piece at least, we've seen like doctors provide blood clots. We've got a liver, they think it's a liver and it's a blood clot. So, we've seen plenty of those. We can always tell right away because it's just red water by the time it gets to us. So it's like, wow, it disappeared out of the conical container. So it's just, so I mean, on that, did I answer your question?
Well, No, I want a solution. I see the problem, I get the problem, but I want, so I'm thinking about having my people, wherever we're contracting, hiring and people that we're doing the work so that we know what we're getting and we're not depending on someone that is mistaking a blood clot.
Yeah, because some of the providers, you were there with me in the room when they're thinking, is this good enough? Is this good enough? And
I don't know, and I knew more than I just stood back and let Robert work with them. I was surprised. I thought, no, this for sure. We need our own people here.
Yeah, they really don't know, and it varies pretty drastically. I mean,
and even if you have your own people, sometimes that doesn't matter. It's the actual
the clinic.
Because if the provider isn't being creative with how
you
they
can staff all the people you want there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's really, that's another issue. So I mean, it is.
The providers that I've talked to, knowing this problem, have been willing to be creative, have the skill, and they're willing to be creative with the procedure so that intact specimen is, well, they can't guarantee anything, but they're willing, as long as the layers are there as far as the how we're protected with what so the contract that's drawn up, how it's worded, that they're looking at the attorneys, and we all know that this is not, I don't know how what we're doing is what we're doing, but how we protect ourselves. And is it Sabina? Help me remember this, that the way that they're counting, what is the age, what's the gestational age, you can go a little, you can show it a little younger than what it is, that they're willing to work with that. So that's, to me, that's solving the problem. Having somebody, one of our people there that knows what they're looking for and they're trained, and then having providers that are willing to be creative with the procedure. That seems to be solving the problem that it sounds like you're having.
What are the gestational ranges in the clinics that you guys are going into?
Was it 20?
18 and above, yeah, we make sure to find places. Yeah, one is 18, one is 24. And
are they using digoxin?
No, actually, that's, they're not
I
even,
Yeah, I found. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this the other day. Somebody's doing, or maybe you were in that meeting we were in, but it was somebody is looking at using dig tissue for research, and I was like,
No.
please, tell me it just works, because
For anatomy studies? I mean, what are they?
You would never
No.
get anything from it. But I wish it would work, right? In concept, I wish it would work. That would be great, but no. Yeah. So right.
That's like doing stem cell research out of a corpse. I mean, come on, like.
I know.
Let's be realistic here.
Looked at the tissue that comes out after dig.
Yeah.
You can tell.
The smell is already bad enough. Like, I'm sorry, we're at the table. Like.
It's okay. I know. We all know. Yeah. What's your background, Robert?
Background in bio research. I was a bio major undergrad. I've done all my graduate work to it. Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so I did do skid mouse work for a little while,
Oh, nice.
which was the humanized mouse models. I'm passionate about that. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's world changing. But now I'm just doing the procurement things. So
That's great.
not necessarily. Well, I'm not an academic at heart, I guess, is what I would say. So I'm more applied sciences is kind of what I'm into. So
That's great.
Was your mouse work university, or were you one of the big mouse houses?
Yeah, no, that was no, not. I was never at Jackson or anything like that.
A mouse house, like a Jackson.
Like a Jackson Laboratories or
Yeah.
something like that.
So there's probably 4 or 5 major
Mouse houses.
manufacturers. Mouse houses.
Yeah, real interesting. Deb Nucatola had actually told us that when she was in med school at University of Washington Madison, that was one of the places early on where they were breeding the different strains, and she would see them, and they have the little crates and whatever, which is funny.
Yeah.
But,
It's
So
changed so much.
the providers are really important. If you the prize, especially who has a research background,
Yeah.
who knows kind of what they're doing, or who's just very, very skilled,
Yeah.
like Deb, and can do the whole, convert to breech on ultrasound, everything. We love it.
I know, right?
But not all of them have that skill level, or
Yeah.
if they do, not all of them feel as comfortable where they're at, based on the. I think we all know that we're working in a highly stigmatized area.
Yeah, completely.
And-
Yeah, and there's just so much too. Contamination-wise is another big issue. I mean, so we've seen all sorts of things, but yeast contamination, that can be an issue. We have a number of quality checks we have to go through with things internally. Just to make sure that we're not, investing a bunch of money into trying to isolate cells just to find out that they're contaminated. So it's just, there's a lot of steps there too that the researchers ask us to do. So, yeah.
Tell me about, so you guys are obviously very proud of your cell isolation protocol, and
Yeah.
would you say that that you've gotten to the point where you're more efficient than other outfits that would do it, where you're like, for example, 16-week liver, you can I don't know if this is maybe not your expertise or one of your lab people, the number of cells that you can get out of that liver compared to another company that I might hire to do it. You think your lab stacks up better than theirs?
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, there are businesses that used to work in those cell lines and they don't anymore. And so it's really it's extremely challenging, and I think that so I would say so.
Yeah.
I might be biased, but
The hands down truth. Without dropping big names, it was literally yields are better, engraftment's better. We don't want to be in that business anyway, so they turned to Cate's group,
and there's papers. There's papers out there published about us doing that work with people. So it's just, it's.
Yeah, that's actually the better
I think
source
that you're
information.
still
You can do
standing
literature
is
search.
proof in itself.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I agree. It was brutal, but I think it's something that I'm passionate about, helping researchers, and we're passionate about bringing them really quality products. And what I find is as the quality bar keeps raising for us, it's amazing how our clients audit us, they audit our facilities. It's intense. Sometimes for days. So it's raised that whole bar on the quality side. We hired a director of quality assurance and regulatory affairs that used to work for Amgen and Merck and Covance this last year, and just really have to put the time and energy on the quality side, because it can make a big difference. If we provide product to people that ends up being contaminated that affects their entire study, that's a massive issue.
Okay, so I'm hearing volume, I'm hearing quality.
Yep, definitely.
Okay,
Thank you.
Which I think that's, thank you.
Sorry, thank you. I will be right back with the rest.
Thank you.
So that makes me feel even more comfortable about it. The thought that I was having that it's just a have to have our own people, qualified people, so that what we're delivering to you is quality and not contaminated, and the volume can be there. Then we're not losing anything. After a provider will go through being creative and sending a few procedural techniques and methods, that once that's done, to not have a product for you, that's just not acceptable.
That looks great.
So good, it's my favorite. And the Rainier. Thank you. Everything look okay for you guys?
It's great.
Yeah, thank
Do
you.
we want more? We're good with the wine for now?
We are.
Okay,
I'm
enjoy.
taking hers.
Yeah, there you go.
Enjoy, okay?
Let's move it over. For
Do you
Robert's
provide
next.
any infectious disease screening or anything for your clients? Or
Some request it,
Yeah.
and some. We try to cater very closely to specifically what a researcher is looking for, and so so if it's something that they that they request, it's something that can be done. Some have their own protocols and processes that they prefer to follow, and so we're happy to facilitate that as well. I was actually kind of interested with if contamination you're finding is an issue for your cell isolations. Is there anything you can do to just to take your isolation from the core of the tissue instead of, because certainly for colleagues of mine who worked in like forensic like DNA work, for example, they know it's on the one hand, contamination is important. On the other hand, contamination prevention is important. But on the other hand, if your person is good and trained and knows what they're doing, just to take their sample from the core of the tissue, and depending on the ratio of how many of the cells that you're specifically targeting are in there, it might not, you can't, why have an intact liver if you're only going to take a part in the middle? But I don't know, that was just something I thought I was wondering.
No, yeah, I mean, it's a good point, and really that's like what you said. I mean, we sort of need all of it, which makes it really difficult on that front, but I think that, I mean, we try to go to pretty good lengths. In a lot of circumstances, we're providing, like in this case, we might probably provide you guys, media of our own in containers that we would want used for the transport of samples, so that it's, it's in our own stuff right from the beginning. I think that would be, a good start. And then we'll do testing on our side, so we'll be able to see, and sometimes we find that it can be clinic specific. I've seen really rampant problems with bacteria in certain clinics. Some where you're kind of like in question of really should they, I've seen staff come out of clinics, so I mean I've seen all sorts of things come out of clinics. So
just the different sites that we visited.
Exactly, right? So. It's how serious the clinics sort of, in their own facility kind of looking at that too. So then, I mean, on the range piece, and what do you guys feel like you could do on that front? Maybe
the gestational range?
No, sorry, in the amount of tissue. So like in a week
You're
or a
talking
month.
volume.
Yeah, and if it's a now versus 6 months versus a year, but what do you
that's
kind of
good to think about, right? Like, so how much immediately, what's your volume that you would like, and how fast can we grow up to? Well, what would you be expecting? That, I guess, where's the starting point for you right now immediately?
Well, I would say anything would be a starting point for us right now.
Okay.
Because we have a need.
What's your biggest need?
Is fetal liver.
Okay.
At least from the fetal tissue standpoint.
Okay.
I mean, I'd love to talk to you guys too about some cancerous tissues that it looks like is on your website, so we can get into other products. But from the fetal side, I would say that would be it.
That would be your immediate. Okay, and you'd be happy with whatever volume that we could start with.
Yeah. I mean,
every extra liver is another how many vials that you can.
Oh wait, sorry.
Is it every extra liver that we can provide? How many vials of cells that you can isolate and then resell?
It totally varies. It varies astronomically. Gestation, the donor, it's just like a drug addict. I mean, it can vary drastically. So we deal with all sorts of variances.
Should I think about, for the future, should I think about screening that then somehow? I don't even know if that's possible.
I would say that, if we saw it pretty regularly, we would work with you guys and say, hey, we're noticing that this, or we're seeing this.
We only have skinny livers.
Right, or that we're just seeing, this, do you know why,
what do you think, where we're getting it, what location we're getting it, would that play into it?
You mean what, versus like a hospital or a termination clinic?
Or the population, I think the patient population that they're used to seeing.
Yeah, it's just like with cord blood. You see it all the time with cord blood. Cord blood, you can have 5 samples that look exactly the same, yield entirely drastically different numbers. And maybe the mother ate really healthy and the other one smokes and drinks beer every night. You have no idea. In some cases, we've actually been able to do some studies where we've looked at it and found that it's a real significant drug. Anyone who's on meth having babies, right? There's like almost 0 stem cells. So, but for us, we know that we know what our ranges are, so we kind of know what averages look like, and then when we kind of see something start to fall outside of range, we kind of know something's going on. Either the way it's being collected, something else is coming up, we kind of know from that standpoint. But for us too, if we're spending thousands of dollars trying to do an isolation just to find out that it flopped.
Right.
We'll only do that so many times before we'll go, something's wrong.
Like feedback, immediate feedback from you, what you're
and
seeing.
Megan is phenomenal at that. Like with all of Megan, she's phenomenal at kind of facilitating that through all of our facilities, and sets up regular meetings and does regular conference calls, and just is really, on top of it from that standpoint to provide that sort of feedback right away.
Yeah,
She even
so-
has like kappa deviations she does in files, and so she's really good at being on top of that so that
So
we can
I
track
would
it.
welcome it sooner rather than later. Like not waiting for, we're just seeing this, just immediately, because I'd like to,
It doesn't help us either, so I wouldn't want to.
right.
Yeah, and we would want to, I mean, as an initial standpoint, I would say definitely weekly, and then sort of back it out to what makes sense. But I would say, even doing...
I'm so sorry.
Very good, thank
Yummy.
you.
Does anyone need anything? We're okay?
Okay, thank you. I think for sure weekly, kind of getting it going, and then making sure it's, we're providing that information. Sometimes it might take, days for us to know everything in regards to the cell count. We do things with cultures and testing and sterility testing. Sometimes that can take days for us to get back all that information. So, but then once Megan has it, on your next call, she would be bringing that up, and yeah. So based on that, I mean, what do you guys think realistically? A couple a week, 5 a week?
I think that right now, I think depending on, it's really, because the volume is one thing and the provider outcome, or the provider mediated outcome, so to speak, is another. But I think we could safely say it would be a bigger range right now, 3 to 10, I think.
A week?
Yeah, I think it could be that much. If Missy's site is on board.
Yeah, we have some
If they're-
flexibility, like that. As far as like, they don't have to be flawless, right? I mean, it's always great when they are. But we deal with samples that are not flawless or that are broken in pieces sometimes. But just trying to collect all of those pieces is really important.
Do you have a way to, this is going to sound, I don't know how to say this, to rate a specimen for us? What you got, what were you satisfied,
What's the 5 cc's kind of thing? Is that
Yeah,
the-
usually the volume that we aim for, even if it's in pieces or intact, is 5 mils as a minimum, just to make the cell isolation worth it on our end.
Yeah,
And we've sort of found that sometimes high 15 weeks, but usually it's 16 weeks and over is when you start seeing that sort of volume.
And we would send conical tubes, so it's like it comes to the conical tube.
Yeah.
So you can see it. It's marked on the vial with that. But from that standpoint, that's a good benchmark.
Right. So even a pristine, completely intact 12-week liver is not going to yield the kind of cells that you're
No,
looking
I
for.
would say a 12-week intact liver.
If it were perfectly intact.
Yeah, I mean, 12 weeks, you feel like that's just too small. Am I pushing it? I'm pushing it.
Okay, so what
Realistically, I
what
think
would your
probably
dream
not.
In order to find it, or in order to do the isolation, are you saying?
To do the isolation.
Oh, okay. So you work in the lab sometimes too, so you know.
Do the
Okay.
isolation.
Okay.
The number of
Years
cells
from the
that-
lab if it doesn't go
Oh,
well.
okay. Oh, no. Because my thought in some ways have been, I wonder how much of our gestational limits that we process, so to speak, are a little artificial. Because if it's one thing, from a scientific standpoint, there are good reasons depending on the differentiation of the different cells and how far along and all that. But then there's also there's kind of the practical consideration of, how much time is my tech going to spend looking through the dish to find what they're looking for.
Right.
And some providers we've found, maybe they don't have the exact gestational age. Maybe they don't go as far in gestational age as we would like, and maybe not as much of the volume, but they're highly motivated and they want to help. And if they're motivated that way and they want to be creative with how to, with their procedure, we've had some who are perfectly willing to do, let's say, IPAS instead of electrical suction.
Yeah.
You can start to play with those limits a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there's a
High gestation before you have to do a few passes even at 13 weeks.
right.
To make
Yeah. Until somebody makes bigger than a 1.6
I know.
millimeter cannula.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm with you. If we could all start manufacturing that, that'd be great. Yeah, I'm with you. I know when those first came out, I thought they were going to be amazing, and then I was like, oh, you mean you want to pull it through the needle of a hook? I mean, it's just like, you know, I mean, if they could have made the cannulas bigger, that would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Unfortunately not.
Tell me if you've gotten this one for any of the clinics, asking if you can do their waste disposal.
Oh, yeah. Tons. Actually, I was just talking about that this morning. Yeah, when all this stuff happened with Planned Parenthood Stericycle in Texas, that huge disaster that happened, yeah, we heard from everybody about, you know, could you do this? And I was like, wow, I mean, we're not in the bio-incinerator business. That's a huge state licensing issue. I mean, semi-trucks picking up at facilities. You're like, we just need this, and you're asking us to pick up this. It's like, yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
Passing their problem onto us. I did that, but I was like,
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. So that's great. So sorry, what was the range you said one more time? I'm going to write this down so we can start to get an idea of what you're thinking.
I think it could be as little as 3 or as much as 10.
Okay.
But as far as the gestational range that you guys would really want for liver, what are your hard limits
for the 3 to 10, what do you think would that fall in?
Well, 3 would be if we're really talking a hard limit of later second trimester cases.
Like 18 and up or something.
Yeah, like 18 and up. 10 would be if we could, if we're talking that I think we can get, we'll have an extra leftover, 10 of 12 weeks and up, but they're pristine, like very, completely intact. It's all there. It's just tiny, but it's all there.
Yeah.
And if it were a low, other client week for us, that.
Of the livers you guys are collecting right now, do you sell them all?
Well, we only collect what we can sell. Okay. Obviously, we're not gonna spend time collecting from we're not gonna consent all the patient to collect all the cases just because.
Right, just because. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Because we operate drop ship right now. It's not.
Yeah.
We're not doing banking right now.
Okay. And would you guys be open to, from the standpoint, is if we were to work out something contractually with you guys that made financial sense to say that, anything in that range, whatever we elect it to be, let's say it's 15 weeks or up, or livers that qualify to this, that just exclusively from that standpoint would come to us. Would you be open to that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so let me think. So I'm thinking, Megan, from the standpoint, like 15 weeks probably.
Yeah, and even then I might have some feedback that they're too small to be a communication that we would have to go.
15.5 mils, cc's?
Yeah, 5 mils is probably better than other way to measure it than just saying the amount of weeks, because sometimes that's off too. Sometimes
you get like super preemie because someone's like not
out
eating.
And you're like, there's no way. That was 14 weeks.
Or there was like, you don't know what happened. Yeah, so sometimes that can be it. But yeah, we could definitely do some standpoints with that.
Yeah, I would say that volume is probably a better mark.
I'd like to see from Megan maybe a wish list.
Yeah.
With real specifics. So
I'll kind of do like an actions us and for you guys too. So.
I found that it's helpful if you can translate it into gestational weeks, even though obviously it is a less precise measure, just because that's what the clinics work with.
Right.
And so being able to be attentive to their practice environment can kind of, sometimes that makes the difference just in terms of the partnership and how they're able to help you. Because if you tell them 5 cc's, I don't know that many of them will know what that means. But they do know 16 weeks. So I guess maybe my question I was going to ask is what is it that your lab really likes? Like if you can get for them and they say, oh, this is good. Like this is what we really is there a gestational number on that? Or?
At a certain point, the number of stem cells are going down. So once you get up to 24 weeks, even
start
though they're
shopping.
huge,
Mm-hmm.
the number of samples they can isolate actually goes down. So
Yeah.
probably 19 to 20 week window is
And that really is the window where they're satisfied with what they're getting. And
19 to 20.
I would say there's probably 18 to 20.
18 to 20s. I mean, what you're asking, like the perfect ideal gestation, I would say.
what would keep your lab happy? Like, what would make your lab happy?
Another 50 livers a week.
Yeah. 5 mils
Okay.
and over.
Okay, so you can handle that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's volume for us. And just so you guys know, too, on the collection side for us, we're also, as you know, as you see Megan out there at clinics, right? I mean, we're working with, almost like triple-digit number of clinics. So it's a lot on volume. And we still need more from what we do. So it's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't think you're going to hit a capacity with us anytime in the next 10 years.
That's
I think
good to hear.
I think you feel solid with that
Okay,
standpoint.
good to hear.
So I think from that, you'll feel like with doing an agreement with us with this, that it'll be consistent growth. And I mean, our growth has been consistent. So it's going to continue to grow from that
But
standpoint.
there is a metric of, just going back to what those qualities are of
It is.
a good liver, is that from a
steal this out of
financial
the way.
efficiency perspective,
Yeah,
having
thank you.
just by displacement, if it's going into the media and they can see
Sorry.
that it displays
Yeah.
5, then they have
Yeah.
a pretty good idea of whether or not if it doesn't work to
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So it just from
Yeah.
being efficient, not putting a lot of resource time into conveying livers that we're not going to
Right.
invest into the lab and
Right.
throughput process. I think it's still a pretty easy
Yeah.
step for the clinician.
Right.
And we've done some good things too, you guys, where, I mean, nowadays with like digital being what it is, I mean, if we get a box that's like leaking or like samples that look awful and you're thinking, how did this even get shipped to them? Because if it's a remote site, you're not there and it gets shipped to us. I mean, we document it well and can provide that to you and be like, this is how it showed up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if there's issues like that, we'll vet those things out. And but like Kevin's saying, I mean, if it shows up and it's hot and any ice or gel packs that we're using, or like everything's just, or FedEx delivers it 3 days late, those are all issues for us.
Right. Well, I mean, going into it knowing it has to be financially beneficial
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, and both of us, for
Right,
sure.
right. And so promising the providers, making it financially beneficial for the clinics.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be doing their job,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
what I'm trying to find out is who needs to be doing what, who hasn't been doing what, why has it been a failure financially
Yeah.
for clinics or you or us, and solving those problems so that everybody's profiting financially.
I feel like there's clinics out there that have been burnt that feel like they're doing all this work for research and it hasn't been profitable for them.
Really?
No, do you feel that way? Sorry, that was.
Oh, I thought you were saying that.
Yeah, no.
No.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
I don't see that either. I haven't seen that piece either with that. Some of them, I think it's just a headache that they don't want to deal with.
You know what I am finding though, the people that we've spoken to, they understand this is financial, that this has the potential to be
Yeah.
very financially
Yeah.
profitable.
Yeah.
They're concerned a little bit about the headlines that it might make.
Sure.
So they're talking to the right people, making sure. But to me, and maybe Robert will jump in, but to me, I just feel like people don't understand what they need to be doing in order to provide the other end. And then middlemen look bad to either side. So that's
Yeah.
what I want to hear from you. What do you want? What do you need? What's the volume? What's the obviously intact and livers and but what's going wrong? How can we do it better or make it easier for you so that you're really able to do the isolate, the part that we're not ever going to get into.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I think all the things we talked about tonight, I don't know, Megan, if you'd have other things to add. I mean, from the consenting side, you guys are using your own consents?
well,
The,
that's kind of a gray area right now.
Okay. So if we provided you a kit with a consent, you could use that?
is that a StemExpress consent,
It
or so you're not using the Planned Parenthood consents anymore?
No.
And they're letting you do that?
Yeah.
Because they won't let us.
I just think some people don't.
Yeah.
Some people that we're talking to are just not aware. Other people are. That's my feeling. I don't know.
Because I'm thinking, because I know we know some people who would like shoot through the roof like if they heard that.
Yeah, well, I mean, and Planned Parenthood consents, I mean, are probably okay in certain circumstances. Yeah, do you think, Megan? Yeah, I mean, Planned Parenthood it would be okay in certain circumstances. It's if you, I mean, you know, we know all the people at PPFA pretty well, but I'm sure if it's a standard consent with, you know, certified form from Planned Parenthood, it's probably, I don't even remember, I used to have them memorized what the numbers were on the bottom of the form, but if it's one of the ones that we know, where you said this is the consent we would use, and it's like, okay, it wasn't written by some random person at Planned Parenthood, it's certified at the bottom with their document control number, and it's probably sufficient for us. We would just need to look at that piece, but yeah, otherwise we have our own consents.
That can be, I just feel like that can be really affiliate by affiliate specific.
It is, but you know what, at the bottom you'd be surprised, they changed the header, but the body of the language stays between all affiliates. So I can't remember, I'll look at the form number, we can email it to you guys and say, is this the form number? But yeah, most everything nowadays has to be vetted through PPFA, and then the affiliate puts their own logo on the top, has their own name inside the consent, but the language is exactly the same, usually clinic to clinic.
Yeah. Have you spoken much with affiliates outside of California?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I feel like there's maybe a kind of a cultural difference there between like the California affiliates versus the ones in everywhere else.
I would say that's true. Yeah, I would say that's true. But form-wise, you shouldn't see any issue on the form side. I mean, because Planned Parenthood keeps a pretty tight rein on their organizations, and when they don't, like Golden Gate is a good example of how they did away with an entire affiliate in San Francisco because they wouldn't toe the line. So, I mean, you know, when you see those affiliates that kind of go outside the ropes, usually PPFA is like, we're done, and just shuts them down. So, so they, you know, they're so critical. I mean, they're the #1 most targeted organization for abortion-related care. So they take so much heat. And all it takes, as you guys know, would be down in LA, that crazy girl that was at UCLA, I can't remember what her name was, that young girl at UCLA who was going to all the Planned Parenthood clinics. It might have been before, well, you've been, I know, in clinics for a long time, but I was going to say she was going to clinics pretending that she was pregnant.
Oh, and taping.
Oh my gosh.
Taping pictures, and then like going to multiple clinics. It was like
6 years ago?
4 years ago?
Yeah, it was
Since we've been around.
Yeah, because it was a big topic.
It was a big topic. I can't remember her name, Mary something, but she was a Catholic girl from like UCLA who was really
always the
causing
Catholic
massive problems for Planned Parenthood. I mean, they had to fire entire medical staff and medical directors for Planned Parenthood down in LA because of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was just a huge thing because, you know, she would go in and then like, you know, try to get the staff to say something wrong, and she'd wear hidden cameras, and so when they were consenting her, she'd be like, I just don't know if I want to have an abortion, right? Like, she'd be saying all these things, but my boyfriend beats the hell out of me, and she'd like go into these huge cases, and then one of the staff would probably say, you know, if you just don't feel right about it with this guy, you know, I think maybe you should go through it. And like, boom, she would like take it to the news stations, Planned Parenthood staff's convincing me to have an abortion, you know, just like blast it all over the news and just, you know,
that's
brutal.
That's the headline that everybody's afraid of.
I'm sure, right? That's totally it. And I think that they're you know, looking at it from that standpoint with it.
Well, and the congressional hearings. That was when we were at the national, or you weren't at the national meeting, but that was the big talk as well. That Roger Evans was saying, I was there 15 years ago when they.
It's true.
And
yeah, that's just on our part, making sure that everybody feels comfortable.
Yeah.
They have the layers of protection.
Yeah.
That we're all framing it right.
Yeah.
That we're all saying it right.
Yeah. And for your independence, they'll be happy that we have a firm that's certified by an RB, right? So they'll be like, oh, great, right? So and Megan has like the kits, and we can send the whole thing, which has the form in it, which makes it easy. But for Planned Parenthood, as long as it's an acceptable form that would qualify for us, that would work.
Okay.
So
protocols that we can send also that would be very specific.
Right.
What we would need, the media, how we'd want it stored to make it acceptable.
I'm just thinking too, we would just do it from the standpoint of all the conical tubes prepped, like, you know.
Right. Well, I was gonna say it sounds from what you were saying, like the plan or the StemExpress protocol would be, you know, or the inclusion requirements for StemExpress would just be, drop it in the tube and see if it floats where you want it to go. That's the inclusion factors for you guys as opposed to the specific gestational range.
Yeah, and sometimes we get things. I mean, we've had issues, which I guess I'm assuming you guys, when you have researchers that request blood samples, then you're pulling the blood tubes and just sending it with the samples. Is that what you're doing? Yeah. So on our side, on all these samples, we would just want the same thing, blood tubes sent with it, and we just provide that in the kits, so the blood tubes are in there. So it's all just, as simple as can be with that side of it.
Okay. So I can't imagine that what you would require would be help me here, would be any different than what researchers have been saying that they wanted to have different.
It doesn't sound too qualitatively different. I mean, I think it's.
But that you're going to your containers and all that, and that's not a huge cost to you, or could we help you with that?
No, it's fine, and we pretty much have standard kind of metrics that we found with how we're doing things. It's helpful to do it in all of our own stuff. It's just good.
Dessert or coffee or anything? You're okay?
I would love a cup of coffee.
Okay, coffee with cream?
And maybe bring the dessert list, just maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coffee, 2 coffees?
Please.
But yeah.
So, training of your clinicians, do you spend any time with them on?
Training of the clinicians.
The clinicians?
That's what I feel.
Definitely.
That's the most important thing right now.
And Robert, you handle that?
Me and our techs.
Okay.
The techs do it, yeah. We're fortunate to be.
Your involvement for any new site that you're able
We'll
to.
leave this for you. We did get tons of new things.
Definitely. I mean, and we're fortunate to be working with sites right now that are high volume and have some experience doing tissue procurement. So it's not a new thing. I think it's more of just getting back up to speed, like remembering, like this is important. It taxes it. So.
And are the techs that you have doing procurement, are they based out of LA too, or other places?
Yeah, we fly them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that?
I said I don't.
So what are your concerns, Kevin? What are you thinking about?
No, I'm just curious that that's this Megan's domain, but you see an incredible range of skills and capabilities and experience. And it's depending on what their purpose and mission is at the clinic. So if they're indifferent to what happens downstream, then they're fulfilling their mission. But if they're a little broader view, then Megan's got extra work to do, which is great. It's just preparing for it.
The phone calls too. I mean, it sounds like you get phone calls when you don't get the phone calls of complaints, and we want to avoid that. So on our end, training and making sure that we're supplying you with exactly what you need, what you want. Okay.
You don't want a clinic calling back that's taking the time to collect something properly, ship it off, and in their mind it's compliant to what you asked for. It gets to our end and it's off by just enough that we can't do anything with it, or a client of ours doesn't comply.
Yeah, or Megan will look at the paperwork and say they didn't fill anything out, or like you know what I mean, like we don't have any information on this, and so things like that, where it's just then it makes it really hard to be able to do anything with it.
So there's remote sites where you're not necessarily directly supervising what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, and relationships, like what we're talking about from the standpoint of, thank you.
Do you need cream?
We can share, unless you're going to eat.
No, that's fine.
I mean, I can get more.
No. She's like, we have more in the kitchen.
Okay. And then there's sugar in the dome.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so
And
far.
did you decide on anything, or are we?
I'm good.
Did you look?
I loved it. It was fun to look, though. Do you
I'm good. I'm not really a sweets person.
Not really.
Thank you.
The only complaint so far on our end is that it was just a nightmare to be able to say, yes, we have this, and we weren't able to supply it. As far as quality, that hasn't been an issue.
Was it a volume issue when that happened? It wasn't like a one request sample. It was a volume issue?
It was a volume issue,
Yeah.
So they want X per day, and you couldn't get them
this
X.
was a private practice physician who,
And that's when I realized,
No.
okay, we need to move out. We need to be contracting with people that can deliver what they're saying. And I have to give credit to Robert for the training that there hasn't been anything that people have said, you can't use this. They can
That's
use
right.
it. It's good quality. But for people to be promised something and we can't deliver because we keep on, well, I just don't want that to look like it.
Sure.
How much business do you get in some of these other tissues? I mean,
I was just about to shift that one too. I was about to shift off that topic as well.
Hospitals or,
We've not done as much cadaveric tissue. The relationships are there to do it with some local hospitals, but I mean, since my background is more in the regenerative medicine area, those are the sorts of conferences that I frequent and the networking that I'm doing to try to bring in those clients. So that has just kind of happened to be where most of the focus is. We do a lot of adipose tissue as well, actually. We have relationships with a couple different cosmetic surgery centers in Southern California. And exactly. There's an interesting
do you offer to like be like a person that they take it off of, right?
Everybody makes that joke.
Hey,
I'm willing to donate.
No. Get in line.
Will that be next in your donation center besides the bone marrow and the blood?
It'll be like, we do our own adipose here, just come on in, free of charge.
Can you imagine if we said we'll pay you
my
to
gosh.
say
Yeah, people
Get
would.
rid of this baby.
Yeah, right.
I
We
know.
never
The other baby,
staff-
not the other.
We never have staff fighting for a position. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't fight for that position for bone marrow collection, let me tell you. They're like, yeah. So,
and path tissues, diseased,
Yeah.
one sort of.
It can be done. It's the same situation where we know the people in the path lab at the hospital in Long Beach. We could, if there was a specific request, we could do that. But
what
it's
about blood samples from, I'm thinking like the MMLs, AMLs, sort of multiple myeloma blood samples from people with AML or leukemia, any sort of cancerous related blood samples.
There is a cancer treatment center that we were working with for a time to get biopsies for a specific client who wanted that. I don't know if that's where we would go for. I think we might just go to the hospital for that as well.
And maybe what we could do is, it sounds like put together like a target list for you guys, and then you could say yes now, maybe in the future.
Yeah.
We could work to this. We think it'll take 6 to 8 months to get this online.
Right.
Something like that, just so
Just
we
knowing
can.
that there's a need, that if
Yeah,
you give
and
us
we
a
get
target,
this
and
because
then,
people come to us and we're like, oh, we didn't know there was a need. Well,
Exactly.
get ready for it to take a year to get this together. But we try to really, look at it. We're gonna send you things that are like request driven. They're not like one-offs. This is my favorite. One-off insane requests. It's like, wow, we could spend a gazillion amount of hours trying to deal with one request. We're gonna send you things that are like, we know consistently if you could provide us X, we could consistently buy it from you. Right?
Okay.
So, because I get where you guys are coming from in that space, and so it's like, it'll be something that's consistent, not something you have to work to build just to have a sort of 1 to 6 months.
Right.
So yeah.
What cells are you isolating other than fetal liver progenitors right now? Are you doing any neural progenitors or?
We've gotten requests for them. We've had all sorts of requests, RNA based, and that's the other thing, I guess. I don't know, if we'd want to look at if they're getting requests that they can't fulfill. If we want to look at, some sort of fee associated where we could provide you back some fee or some sort of transfer fee with that. Like if you have a client who's requesting something from you that you guys can't get.
Oh, like they come to us first asking for the cell isolation. We don't do that, but we
give you some percentage of something like that. I don't know if that would make sense from that front. But yeah, I mean, we've had all sorts of requests, DNA, RNA from neural tissue. If there's any others.
I asked because that's on the humanized mouse front. That is coming down the pike in kind of an exciting way. There's some more work starting to be done with neural engraftment, and the places where that could go is quite exciting. I think.
Yeah, and I think, but as you probably know, potentially, I mean, I think that one of one of the issues with neural tissue is so fragile. It's insanely fragile.
Right.
And, you know, I don't even know.
Whenever you're ready, no rush.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys. That's very
Oh, no
sweet.
problem.
I was going to say is that I know we get requests for it's the hardest thing in the world to ship.
You do as the whole Calvarium.
That's it. Yeah, that's the easiest way. And I mean, we've actually had good success with that in the past. So
They're like, make sure the eyes are closed.
Tell the lab it's coming. Did I open the box? Oh,
I know.
God. You know what I mean? So, where so many of the academic labs cannot fly like that. They're just not capable.
Why is that? I don't understand that.
It's almost like they don't want to know where it comes from. Megan's seen that, where they're like, we need limbs, but no hands and feet need to be attached. And you're like,
Or they just want the long bones and they don't want to see that
they want you to take it all off, like make it so that we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's like,
Bone the chicken for me, and then
that's it.
you
Sort
know,
of
and
like,
then I'll eat it.
But we
not
know what it is. I mean, with their
So
lab.
this goes to that whole stigma.
Stigma.
That,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
this is,
And their lab techs freak out and have meltdowns, and so it's just kind of like, And I think, quite frankly, that's why a lot of researchers ultimately, some of them get into a lot of other things, right? They want to look at bone marrow, they want to look at adipose, they want to look at adult human kind of adult-based sampling, because they sort of want to get away from having to publish a paper that says we derived this from fetal tissue.
okay. So they don't want
It can be a time and a half just reading through the materials and methods section, trying to figure out how they did what they did and where they got it, because they don't want to.
Yeah.
They don't want to.
No, what I'm saying
Yeah.
is it relates to what I worked with the women. It's related to that. Like they want to pretend it's not a baby.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think we're getting here?
Yeah.
And are they not seeing the positive that they're doing?
Yeah.
Do they not see the profit in it? Do they not see? I just don't understand that.
Well, I don't know if you guys have seen this too. I mean, some clinics are really anti-receiving money from it too. I don't know if you've seen that. I mean, they're like need money, but they're also a little nervous about receiving money.
They're nervous. I wouldn't call it anti. I would call it.
Yeah, like
they're
they wish
just
they-
careful.
right,
They're
yeah.
they need to be very careful.
Yeah.
They need to have their attorneys making sure that they're saying it right, that
Sure.
they're writing it right.
Sure.
That we're all talking about it the same way.
Yeah.
That we can't say yes. The bottom line is we are paying you money for baby parts.
Yes,
okay?
that's it. Right. Yeah, I can't say that.
No, we can't say that.
Right.
So that's why going full circle, my big dream, my big goal, fund Hillary.
Yeah, it's true.
If we
She
get
can get
that
it and change
signature,
it.
that autograph, she can put it on the bill to repeal the,
Right.
you know.
I know.
We could,
And while we're at it, the intact
What do you
DNA,
think?
you know,
What do you think?
partial
What do you
live,
think? I mean,
whatever,
that's
we
a-
can
hold
get rid
on.
of that.
Yeah.
Hold on. What do you think?
I can see it going both ways, and I can see her face making both arguments too.
Yeah.
What difference does it make? So,
You don't think she's reliable to?
no, I'm wondering if she'll bring the political courage to do it.
She's a clown.
I think,
If anyone could do it, it would. I mean, right?
oh, there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that could do it. It's will they do it? Will they step up to the microphone?
Will they get a backbone? We could
Yeah.
procure that for them.
I remember when Obama was, running, and I was, so sad when Hillary stepped down, and it was like, I know it was such like a huge success for him to get to where he has.
Right.
But it's just, I remember when Hillary stepped down, and he's up there at the podium, we will bring back troops from the Middle East within, I think it was 6 months. I think it was originally 6 months. Okay. We're still there 8 years later, right? And I just remember hearing him say it and say, he doesn't even understand what he's saying. Like that, you couldn't even move the tanks in 6 months. Like if you
There are no presidents that
I
have
watched-
taken that job.
No, I read a Time magazine article where it showed what it takes to move a tank, one tank from the Middle East to the United States. You can only put it on one plane. You can only put like one little Jeep behind it, and there's something like 17,000 tanks. So with the amount of planes we have in our arsenal to just do this, it would take like 3.5 years, right? If all they did was do this back and forth. I mean,
Wow.
The United States left all its equipment.
yeah, a
in
lot of
Asia.
times, but the problem is they leave it, and then these like, militant groups come in and seize it,
take it.
and then use it. It's like, it's
Yeah.
really, it's an incredible,
But, I mean,
sad process. People
which is what happens when you have religious extremists and a Taliban, whether it's the Afghan Taliban, the Lebanese Taliban,
Yeah.
my family, or the American Taliban
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
that all of our friends have to deal with here.
Yeah,
That's what happens.
yeah, it's true.
That's
Okay.
if you dominate the world.
I know, right? It's costly. Okay, so from the past side, we'll send a list for you guys of what we could look for on that. Also from just the sort of live donor, but yet other sort of sample base. I noticed you guys had on your website bone marrow. So on the bone marrow side, what can you get on that front?
That's a hospital-based
Okay.
donation, yeah,
Okay.
as well.
So aspirates, like what are you collecting size-wise in those?
Last time we did bone marrow was probably a year ago.
Okay.
So that's definitely when we're doing mainly adipose tissue from the cosmetic surgery
Okay.
centers, and we're doing fetal tissue from the
Those
from
are
the
the two
clinics,
big
and that's yeah.
predominants.
Those
Okay.
there are other avenues, there are other
Sure.
possibilities, but that's if you want to know about like now versus the future, that
Sure,
would be
sure.
like the now
Okay.
future breakdown.
Okay.
Well, what I would say is, something along the lines of the supply arrangement or anything that you make or procure that fits the criteria that we would provide to you. We would take everything that you can in those parameters. So I would say, it's very simple to move the bus out. Some discussion on both sides, of course, but we can provide a term sheet easily enough for us to go back and forth. Opinion at this point is relatively straightforward.
And you know what I think would be?
Focus on the fetal tissues at this point.
Yeah, I think it would be great if you guys are open to it, just due to timing and also just it's part of our due diligence piece, I would say, is really if we can send them some kits. If you guys are open to that, we send you some kits while Kevin's working with you guys and we're digging through language and talking about all these things sort of contractually. But it would be great to send you guys some kits and just get some samples and really
Yeah.
look at them.
Yeah.
Give
And
us
even
some
if you guys just
feedback.
charge us what you normally would until we
Right.
figure out.
Well, I was going to ask,
contractually.
what do you normally pay for a fetal liver from one of your sites?
It varies drastically. What would you want for
Based
it
on
is
the
the
quality,
easiest
based
way.
on
Because we would just, I think initially we just, whatever you would charge to do some test samples is what we would do, while we're sort of figuring out contractually what we do. So from that standpoint, what would you want for it?
That's your call.
I know, I hate this.
Yeah,
I
well,
hate
if you
this
need-
part.
Full look,
No,
you would
no,
barter.
I
Think
don't like
about
to
it.
barter.
Yeah. Just what
I
you want. Be fair with yourself with it. I just think for us to test it, to
Right.
make sure on our side, that'll just help
Right,
the due
and
diligence stage.
what I want to look at this as just a kind of a test period for both of
Yeah.
us, making sure we can satisfy you
100%, yeah.
and that it's profitable for you, profitable for us,
Sure.
everybody goes away happy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at.
Sure.
So I'd like your target list. I'd like what are you looking for? Give me specifics, and then we can settle in on price and
Yeah.
I think initially too, it'd just be like having a customer buying 3 from you, create a PO,
Yeah,
and like just that
whatever it
simple.
is that you
Not
guys
for
would
the whole
normally
project.
charge your customer with that. You don't have to give us any special discount with it, but just from the standpoint of initially testing
you
it.
know what? I'm not a businesswoman per se. I would love to give you a discount in the beginning because I want to make sure, can we keep you happy?
Sure. And I appreciate that.
And I appreciate what you do, and I'm willing to take a little loss. Quite frankly, this year has been extremely profitable, beyond my dreams.
Good.
That's why I can dream those bigger goals.
Yeah.
So discount or I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Because I see the future and see how profitable it can be if people like you that are kind of rare, that
Yeah.
you're still standing out there. How can we support you?
Thank you.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And so once you guys think
I
about
know
it,
that's not don't tell the money lady. I don't care.
don't tell the money lady.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, so
She's not here.
Yeah, so Robert, I'm assuming you probably did you put that stuff together, because I was going to say, if you just email Megan, hey, this is what we're comfortable with. Once you guys get home and talk about it over your flight, then Megan can get together a PO to send you for that and get you the kits for that. And we'll work on that in tandem.
And you do all that. But tell me what. Give me a money amount, because I'm the one that says what goes.
Yeah.
They can yell at me all they want. Stop laughing and rolling your eyes.
I live with her. I know what you're saying.
Not technically, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm used to the.
Exactly. So we speak
Here's
the
your
same
coffee,
language.
Mrs. Dyer.
So we speak the same language. And I want to keep you happy, and somebody tells me, well, you're going to lose money. I'm going to say, so what? Because I know what I want to do, and I know where this is going. Shush.
No, I'll tell you in 5 minutes, but it reminded me of Linda.
Oh, Linda Tracy.
Can we talk about?
Yeah, I want to hear it. Tell me the stories. I want to hear.
So, okay, but if we tell you our story,
I got to tell you
have
yours.
to,
Okay.
Because
I've got them.
Because
No,
because
that is not nice.
well, but I've been drinking all night.
Stop it.
because
Robert,
so
3 glasses of wine. I'm telling you. Story.
we had a run-in with them, but they were. So where do we start?
I'm just saying, keep your voice down.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So you used to work for them. They told us.
I did.
Yeah.
2001.
You did?
Yeah,
You did?
I did.
How did you how was that?
It was an experience. I mean, it was.
And not a good one, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, they're really, it's back in 2001, and it was, so I mean, I can't believe how long ago that was now. Is that
It's still like there in
years?
2001 or 1980, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, is that 14 years ago?
Okay, tell me if I'm off here. I don't see them as team players in the big scheme of things.
They're absolutely not.
Am I getting the right vibe?
Yeah,
there?
no, you're totally getting the right vibe. I think that's why most of the clinics don't end up wanting to work with them. The ones that have been there a long time, and they're like, kind of ain't leaving because they've established such a strong relationship or stronghold with them. I mean, yeah, they are. I mean, so I'll say this from 2 standpoints. So when I worked with them in that space, it was I had moved from the hospitals up to Northern California and was doing procurement, working with transplant banks, and I sort of saw them posting a job for looking for people that were procurement based. I was like, well, I'm great at procurement. I can do anything, right, when it comes to procurement. So I ended up working with them in that capacity, and it's just, but it was really, they're very small. They're 20. God, I feel like they were 20 years ago. So I don't know how many years they've been in this now. 25, 20, 30? I don't know. A long time. I would say they're at most 5 people. They're really okay with subpar. And
no vision. Did you? Am I okay? No vision.
No, and in part, they're just not a supporter of the clinic the way we're a supporter of clinics. They, Megan and I were chatting about this too at one point. It's like the clinics work for them. It's not the other way around.
Over here. Would you like more coffee?
They don't really give back much as far as the clinics are concerned. I mean, usually you don't pay anything to the clinics for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were really about like you give to us and we take mentality. And so just no real good partnerships. They're not good partnership creators, Yeah, so I mean that's it. So I mean when I see them, I'm like, and that's about the distance. It's about that far away, okay, from that capacity. But I think, we're so much more the advocate. I mean, we're like the total pro-choice advocates, NAF supporters. We sponsor events, we sponsor NAF, we give money to these organizations. We're totally committed to everything with supporting the clinics. I mean, a clinic manager passed away recently. Suddenly, we donated money for his memorial. I mean, we're just totally like all in, and they're just so like not in that realm.
I felt like they had one foot out. When you say you're all in.
Yeah.
I felt like after talking to what is her name, Linda.
Linda.
Linda, that
I was so. Did she come up and actually talk to you?
I talked to her.
Yeah. Oh, good for you.
I just thought,
Did she stand there and kind of do this?
oh, could you do that again?
Yeah, like
oh,
this?
Linda, yeah, there it is.
Oh.
There it is.
Yeah. It's very.
What? I didn't understand that.
I know. I mean, it's just they're really. I don't know. It's kind of their way. It's their business culture. It's kind of just. It's just kind of who they are with it. And
I took a tongue lashing from her. That's our story.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Was she rude to you?
I think so.
What she said?
War type of thing, or
Pardon?
The turf war kind
war
of.
type of?
We don't want you here.
No. Well, I think that was behind it. Like I went away feeling, analyzing it and thinking, was that it? But I just, she was criticizing me that I didn't know every facet of my business. And no, I don't. And I'm willing to admit that. That's why I hire good people.
Yeah.
And so that was, it just wasn't pleasant. I approached her with, I would like I approached her.
It's so funny that you would, even think that. So Linda, so disconnected from the science. Like entirely disconnected
Oh,
from
well,
the
that's
science.
interesting to
So
hear.
it's right, I know, because you're like looking at him for help on the science side, and yet
Yes.
she's totally disconnected on the science side.
Well, no
and
wonder she was
Karen,
asking me so many questions about the science
Yeah,
side.
Karen is the only person that knows anything about what samples are being used for what. I mean, that's it. They just, and even parents kind of one foot out the door. She has been for years.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just, she has a whole separate business, Karen does. I mean, she's like totally busy elsewhere. So it's just really disjointed, and so, as sort of StemExpress became, successful, and as our growth grew, and as the organizations really looked at us as champions, I had a run in with Linda last year at NAF, which I'll share. But so Vicky, from NAF, she was sitting there, and she's such a believer in us, and we're such a believer in them, and we're so passionately supportive of, in each other in the space. But Linda came up, and I was talking to Vicky, and Vicky's just like, just giving us huge praises, and I'm sitting there with a number of the other clinic managers and talking, and here comes Linda, and she stands right here, like right here next to me, and she's just like, like as if she was this close.
Fine language.
And doing this, looking at Vicky, looking at me.
Wow.
And just stands there, and I'm just like, we're just having this nice dialogue, and it was super unprofessional, and I'm like, okay. So, so Vicky's like totally ignoring her, and she just keeps engaging with me, but I'm like really uncomfortable by her being 6 inches from my face, and so I'm just sort of standing there talking to Vicky, and I was like, well, Vicky, I don't want to dominate any more of your time. I can see that someone's here to, talk with you with it. And he's like, thank you. Just kind of pushed in front of to talk to Vicky. And Vicky was like, I don't have time for this, and turns around and walks away.
Wow.
And just totally ignored Linda. And Linda's like, wait, I just need to talk to you about this. This is like, I just can't believe you're such a promoter of StemExpress. Like, we've been here for, and then Vicky just kept walking. She just didn't want to hear it.
Wow.
And I was like, it's,
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's at least Vicky sees, like, she knows what's going on. Like, she's not.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. It's just.
Do you feel the same kind of support, like, from Cecile and from Deborah? And
yeah. And just, everyone at PPFA, and just, the affiliates. I just think you're either in the cause or you're not.
Yeah.
And if you're not in the cause, like, they don't need you around.
Get out.
They need champions, and if you're not a champion, you should go.
Yeah.
Because that's just, and I don't know, the clinics, they're very guarded, as they should be.
Yeah.
And who do they let in their house? They want champions in their house, right? So it's just, I think it's that same concept, and ABR's just never truly understood that.
Yeah.
And I think it's been sort of the downside to that.
Yeah. Then maybe I want to, because that's similar to a conversation we've had with Deborah, and both Deborahs actually, and about if people, if we can partner with PPFA directly, and maybe, and I say we very inclusively,
Yeah, sure.
so that it's not just affiliate by affiliate, but there's, but it's coming from the top down, and it's all locked down in a very professional, safe sort of way, so that nobody really, so to take some of the anxiety out of it, and some of the nervousness that we see the people being kind of anti-remuneration or nervous about remuneration, or however we would phrase that. But
nervousness that Deb, that I got from Deb, and not Nucatella.
Right, no, the other one, from CAPS and all of them, because they're taking in all of the anxiety and all the nervousness and all that at the national level. So why not, if we can kind of help alleviate that with them and just get all of our ducks in a row, and then let it go back top down. I don't know. They said that there had been ideas like a couple years back, and it didn't pan out. And are you?
I think that it's almost like you're asking for an endorsement, right? I mean, it's not, but you sort of are, because you're asking them to sort of broadly spread that conversation.
Right.
I think it's really hard. Planned Parenthood has been so burnt in the past. I think that some of their folks are just like, ooh, and I don't know, how are you guys set up as a nonprofit or for-profit?
LLC.
Yeah, us too. And so I think that's a little bit of
You
a...
see that as a negative? You do?
That's what,
And honestly, when I started the company, if I had probably had more money, I would have done it as that. But it's expensive, and it's a lot to maintain. And then, of course, there's people like ABR who don't do it right at all.
So
I
why
won't
not
even get
learn?
into the tax implementation.
Why not learn from each other and help each other? I just don't think Linda gets that we're all
Well, see, this is the thing. Quite honestly, I used to go into this argument. So Linda ABR is a not-for-profit, and wasn't paying any of the clinics, and was funding places in Hawaii for themselves.
Oh my gosh.
And all sorts of things. But I would go into clinics, and they would say, "Oh, you're a for-profit, and you want to pay us?" But and I'm like, so I want to pay you. She doesn't want to.
And she has a place in Hawaii.
And I'm like,
oh my God.
We're trying to give money to you. And they would say, yeah, that is kind of strange, And I said, right, and I pay tax, just to be clear, that actually donates, ends up funding programs back to you guys. No tax, no payment, tax and payment. It was like that. And they'd be like, okay, that makes sense, right? But I was like, literally, you can't put this on a for-profit, non-profit component. It's are you doing right by them or not? To me, is the argument. But from a for-profit standpoint, they do have tax supplementation from taking money from sometimes for-profits. It can get scary for them, and so I think that sometimes has come up. But again, in those capacities, I think we're the ones paying tax, folks. If you're getting grants, if you're getting federal money, we're actually paying tax for that, So I think that's an important distinction. And I think sometimes, for a long time there was that argument, right? If you're not for profit, you're better to work with. And, I think that's just kind of...
Do you think they've learned their lesson, though, from
I would hope so. I mean, but I think there's people out there that still think that way. I think that, I don't know, and it's like, I look at some of the hospitals that publish their numbers here locally, they're not for profit, yet they netted $160 million in a year. And I'm just like, I didn't even have to pay tax. Wow. So I think it, I don't know.
I think
Beating the nonprofit drum too hard, I guess. I think it's really good for the right people who use it, and then there's a lot of people who abuse it. And I think you have to kind of weed that out. So hopefully people are weeding that out better when it comes to ABR, but I think that is a huge difference.
Thank you for that's good information.
Yeah, and I mean I think it's just, I don't know. I'm just always kind of amazed in the past when I would run across clinics that worked with ABR, and they said, well, ABR is, or they would have called and talked to Linda. No, we're talking to them too. Or say, well, Linda, she's a nonprofit, and I'm like, okay, ask her why she's not paying you then.
But they don't connect the dots. Is that what you're saying?
Sometimes some of them do and some of them don't, and I try to say, in the past with different things, I'd say, well, gosh, look at what they're selling things to researchers and what at the time we were less. And I said, and we're paying clinics and they're not. So, you got to ask yourself some questions here. Like, you got to just think past these things. And I would just try to tell them that. And, if they want to still work with them, then they do. But I just try to at least educate from that perspective. Like, don't let that be the thing that just sort of, closes the deal in that capacity. Yeah.
So I think that's just for us, what I'm taking away from this, just be careful how I talk about it with them. So that
yeah, like with clinics or ABR. Who's
with,
them?
with clinics.
Oh yeah.
With clinics,
I was like, yeah, with ABR.
I don't talk with. Yeah, we're done. We're done. Yeah, I had one last conversation with Linda. I think that was just not pleasant.
Yeah, she's really brass. I mean, and just can be pretty, aggressive in space. And I just think the clinics kind of feel it. They're kind of over it. I don't know. I think they were all really refreshed, like when we came along, which was before with you guys. And it's like, but I think they were kind of like, oh, finally, there's like somebody else. I mean, it was just. I think they were pretty happy in regards to that. So yeah. Any other things we need to?
No, it sounds pretty interesting.
Who do you?
Definitely. Yeah.
Kevin's the very handy paperwork guy. At least he helps me from that standpoint. Who do you want him to work with on that side?
I'm going to ask Robert that.
Yeah, start with me, and I can make the connections with Rebecca, is our contracts administrator, and also with Phil, the attorney. I think that would be best. Yeah.
Well, we'll just start with terms and make sure the business side of it makes sense. We understand. You understand what we make sense in the laboratory. Yeah, it should be detailed. But I think the first thing is to get a PO together so that we can you can have appreciation.
And just think about it. Just think about it, and whatever you would charge someone else, just think about it, and it's fine. And we'll just you do what you want to do with it. But the thing is that just do that, and then we'll initiate kind of the due diligence stage. And if we do it in tandem, we're going to get it done a lot quicker. And so, Megan can start working on all the due diligence stuff with samples coming in, and then Kevin can work on the paperwork side, and we'll get it done a whole lot faster that way.
And are you, I'm sure at this point, you're probably comfortable handling the language around, transfer of human tissue and the remuneration and how that, the layers that need to be there.
The human acts and all the stuff are referencing stuff we do. So it's good on that front.
And then finally, if you're not happy, if there's something that you need that maybe we're not saying that we can do, or not that we can't do, but that it's not good for you. I mean, I read everything, but then we'll talk.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, no, and we're really transparent that way. I mean,
we are too.
Yeah, so I don't see an issue on that front. I think we just need to, sometimes we can't figure out why things go wrong. I will tell you one clinic we found, this was a long time ago, but it was, I was going to say, we've actually seen clinics that are using water in the dish when they're doing things, and their water was actually contaminated by the city. So we found that we're chronically getting things from a clinic with contamination issues. Found out that they had the water tested, and it was contaminated coming out of the pipe. So, typically we're pretty good at just saying, okay, something's going on. Something's out of the norm, and, let's track it down. I mean, we're a scientifically minded group, so we're not like, oh my God, what's going on? It's like something's going on. Something's not following a normal sort of pattern range of sort of out of conformity. So, we're pretty mellow with that. Oh, you need to use that. I'm getting
the crisis center.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, I know Megan's got a very new baby. Did you see
Yes.
him at the show?
Yes.
Super cute.
Yeah. It's adorable.
Megan,
Yeah.
if you need to go, I totally understand that. Is there anything that you need to want to ask her?
Hand her her wallet. Did you have it? sure? Yeah. I think we're almost done here.
Even if you want to stay.
Unless
but
you
just-
have
I
something.
know, you need to leave now. Yeah, unless you have something to want to add. I think
No, I think that we have a pretty
Add
good
or ask
starting point
or-
here, and I'll be communicating with both of you, and as soon as we get a PO, I can get those kids out overnight, so.
Excellent.
we can get
Megan,
started
thank
right
you
away.
so much for
No, it's great
taking
meeting you.
for taking my comments and questions and all that, and I really
She did. She
appreciate
came
that.
right back.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much, Megan.
Excellent.
Seeing you again.
Bye, guys. I'll talk to you.
Okay. Yeah, I know. It's so challenging with a new baby. It's like,
Yeah.
goodness sakes.
Yes.
And Megan, when she went on maternity leave, we're like, oh my God, because she does a lot. But yeah, she's been great. She's been with me a lot of years, so it's good. So yeah, other things we need to.
Contamination in the water. Okay, so.
Can you believe it?
That's-
Right?
that's-
So, I mean, like the city came down. I know. Well, and it's like a lot of times in the process, right? They're using sink water throughout containers, rinsing, and they're doing all these things and rinsing.
The way
Well,
they,
and
they
the-
were blasting.
And they blast it with water in the dish. And,
Why,
you know.
why did they do that? It doesn't make sense. Like, if you're trying to see if everything's there, why are you fire hosing the, you know?
I know. It's incredible. I know.
Is that just the stress? Like, they're trying to get the stress out? Like where does that come from?
And
It's
when
just a
you
training
mentioned it
thing.
to them, I mean, Robert was saying, gently, very, and they just didn't get it.
No, they don't. Oh, you mean like this? You know? I mean, it's like, you're like, oh, God.
Fire
yeah.
hose.
Oh, I
Fire
know.
hose,
I know.
blasting.
I know. Yeah, I think that some of them, I don't know.
There's a liver right down the drain. Thank you.
I know.
I don't know
Are they
anything.
exsanguinating the whole case? Is that why they're blasting the heck out of it?
So are they doing what?
Just
They like
removing
to
all
get-
the blood? I mean, is
yeah,
it just
they-
they
they
Yeah,
keep
but they're
going until...
Yeah.
They like to kind of get all the red water out, which is why they're using the strains,
Right.
draining it, straining it, blasting it to try to get that out. Because so that they can see it, and they put it on a light tray, and then be able to say, oh, look, everything's complete. And so the physician can come in and say everything's complete. But the issue is that they're so disruptive. I mean, there's so many ways you could do that without being damaging.
Just
It's
run it, just rinse it. Don't blast it. Just rinse it, and then,
Yeah, it's like taking delicate china and like taking it outside and throwing it on your front lawn and like hitting it with the, see how many chips you can get to come off the porcelain, It's like, get your pressure washer out and see if you can clean the dishes.
I was standing back watching all this, keeping my mouth shut, just thinking, well, there goes $1,000.
Oh, I know.
There goes a couple thousand down there. And,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, you're
it's
just
incredible.
maybe that's what we need to tell them. You guys are flushing money down the drain.
We've told them.
Have
We've
you?
told them.
And
Yeah,
what is their reaction to that?
I mean, it depends on the clinic. It depends on the staff. It depends on the strength, Oh, thank you.
I just said we have guests behind us.
Yeah, right, in case I start yelling. Is that, I mean, it depends on the clinic, and it depends on their staff. I mean, if you're, in with enough people at the clinic level that are passionate, and it's not like they're sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out on whether or not they want to work with you, right? If they're kind of on the fence, and then you're like, tell their lab people you need to do something different. Their lab person goes to their manager and says, they're asking me to change everything.
Do you know what?
You know what I mean? And you're like, I'm just trying to just get to this.
Do you remember me saying once the honeymoon's over?
Yeah.
Trust me, I was trying to tell the, what is her title? Medical director, I don't know.
Was that Missy or was it Savia?
Maybe both. Because
Yeah,
they were
probably.
so eager to get us in there because they could see the profitability
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
clinic, right? We're
Yeah.
going to pay you top dollar.
Yep.
We're going to make this profitable for your clinic, and they're very happy, very eager, very happy. But what I was trying to tell them, no, you're eager, you see potential. But once the honeymoon's over, I've seen this, your staff is not happy to have us here, and they're questioning thousands of dollars down the road. Am I talking to you?
No, I just elbowed him.
He
He
elbowed
leaned
it.
back, my elbow was
Oh,
against
yeah.
the wall.
That you're flushing thousands of dollars down the drain
Oh, I know.
because you're just. So that's when I told Robert, no, we have to train our own people because the money that is going down the drain in these clinics, it's just.
Oh, I know. I mean, I think that's the thing. It's really, it just depends, It's like, it depends on the organization, the medical director, how engaged they are. I mean, some clinics, they just are like, this is like, I don't care where it's going.
Right.
I'm here for a paycheck, and I'm going home at the end of the day, right? And they're just like, okay. I mean, so it just depends on the set. Everywhere's different.
I think that's what Robert was referring to, the culture of, that.
And that's why, I mean, there's clinics, I mean, Megan has had plenty that we've actually said, I just don't think this is a great match. And we have a vetting out process, because it's like some of them, you're just going to burn wheels more than you ever do any good. And so we've just stepped away from that in that capacity. It's not a good fit.
It's not going to be profitable.
From an evaluation standpoint, it's nobody's going to make anybody happy, right?
Yeah.
And then they're going to complain about how unhappy they are.
Yeah, and then you get...
So I think you have to just kind of know your battles and know which ones are the right ones. But yeah, we've actually, there's a number of clinics we have not decided not to work with, like before we ever started. We just started sort of the process and really looked at that and said, yeah, it's just not, or they think that they do these numbers, and we ask them to look, and it's like, oh, their numbers are this high,
Wow.
So, or they think they have an amazingly willing group of staff, and we've gone in and vetted it out. It's like, actually, nobody's doing it. So I think it's really, you have to look at that and then make the decision. It can't just be like yes to everybody.
Are you seeing any trends between the independents versus Planned Parenthoods, or your percentage right now breakdown? Are you doing, like, is it pretty split evenly, 50-50?
It probably is. I don't know. It is different, but I don't know that I could think really one has more pros or cons than the other. I mean, Planned Parenthood has volume.
Right.
Because they're a volume institution.
Right.
If you're a physician in like Nebraska, not Nebraska, but somewhere else, right? Like Minnesota or something, and you're doing 10 cases a day, and if you can take your time and do a thorough job and go home at the end of the day, that might be fine for you. And actually, tissue might be good.
Right, it might.
And you could go to Planned Parenthood 6 blocks from there, and they're doing 50 cases a day, and you couldn't collect one if you tried. Right? So it's just, you really can't just go on numbers, and you can't really go on that standpoint.
Kate, I have a question.
Sure.
So this is when you're talking long term, what do I say? What do you think, am I just crazy here to think that Cecil Richards, if would she be willing, or is this even on her bandwidth, that putting in trained procurement technicians in all of Planned Parenthood, so that her clinic could, at the end of the day, they're turning a profit? What do you think? Is that just too stretching it? What do you think? She's the one that is in a position to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, I don't know what you guys are seeing on as far as fetal tissue requests, but I just don't know that the volume is high enough to support that. I mean, so I guess, for comparison purposes, on a given week or month, however you want to break it down, what's the average number of fetal tissues you're collecting? Not including CV. CV is such an outlier.
And even those spreadsheets and
just ballpark. I don't even care.
Right, ballpark would be like we're small, 5 to 10. I think we're doing 5 to 10 requests a week. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
you're going to get the potential to be so much higher.
My feeling, talking to some researchers, is I think that I think there's an argument too that we're at only like 5% of where we could be with this market. Based on what the material can be used for, the research institutions that are out there. I mean, the fact that there's still people on waiting lists for the stuff, for the material they want to work with, right?
I know.
So.
But sometimes those researchers, I don't know what you see, but I mean, I've seen researcher requests. We've gotten a lot better as a company of educating them. We'd like 5-week intact eyes. I'm like, really? How long do you want to wait for those? 2 years? 3? I mean, what's your ballpark? How many do you want? Oh, you want 60 in the next 4 months? Well, let me just tell you, your gestations are wrong. Like, you're never going to achieve, it doesn't matter who you work with. I don't care if every clinic in the United States donates to you. You're never going to achieve 60 in that amount of time. Right? So it's just, we've had to really help them, because it doesn't matter if it's fetal tissue.
Service of not having to bring material from the house.
My favorite one is for human samples, where they'll say, well, can you provide it that it's sterile? And I'm like, it's a human product. It's never sterile. Like, it's never ever sterile. I mean, do you want us to take the cells and sterilize? They'll be dead, just to be clear. I mean, do you want us to, like, put them in a container and nuke them? I mean,
are these all grad students you're working with?
a lot of them are PhDs, right, that are like, kind of postdocs, or they just,
There's a lot, a lot of characters and a lot of sometimes experts who are very, very good at one thing, but don't see the whole picture outside of it. It reminds me of some of the. It kind of goes back to the misoprostol joke I made earlier, and Deb was telling us a story about how they wanted to do a big federation-wide study of digoxin and whether or not digoxin makes it easier to do the second trimester procedures. And she said, they could not get enough providers who would agree to a randomized controlled trial because the providers who used DIG would not give it up, and the ones who didn't use DIG refused to give it.
I know. I've seen that happen. If I remember right, San Diego Planned Parenthood, which I'm trying to remember if Deb was still. Is Deb? She's not involved with San Diego.
No, PPLA.
Yeah,
PPLA. And New York sometimes.
She came out of PPLA, didn't she, Deb Nicotola?
Sort of. Yeah.
I can't remember if she came out of LA or Northern California. They're like.
She's a SoCal.
I think she was always Southern California. So I think she came out of San Diego. But I was going to say is that, and maybe it was the Riverside Planned Parenthood, I can't remember, but San Diego was one of the first Planned Parenthoods. There was a couple of physicians down there that changed the DIG rate up to like 23 weeks, and I remember it was like a big deal for Planned Parenthood.
Oh, they went up to 23, like rather than earlier.
No DIG, up to 23, right? They decided to do away with it, and they had been doing, I think, 18 to 23 at the time, DIGing. But there was a number of physicians that felt like it was just toxic to the women, right? And it felt like, which I personally would argue that it totally is. But anyhow, I mean, a lot of women have had other problems due to it. There's lots of papers. Oregon State hospitals put out a paper that says women are more likely to have issues getting pregnant later. I mean, there's
if digoxin is used.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've even provided some of those papers to physicians at clinics in the past. So it's interesting because I think that the doctors that love it don't want to look at those papers.
So wait a minute, let me understand this. Digoxin can present problems for the woman to get pregnant later, but the doctors that know that, but they love using it, don't want to look at that.
Well, they would argue. I can tell you how they'll argue this.
Okay.
I mean, what they're going to argue is they're going to say, well, sure, those, I don't even want to look at the paper because sure the stats are there, but just like, what's the likelihood a woman could hemorrhage? The same percentages. Well, no, there's actually not. But they won't even want to look at it. They're just going to argue, well, sure, if I'm doing the procedure, she could hemorrhage. It's like, well, yeah, but that's actually I don't really want to hear it. I mean, the reality is the same, right? Like, if I use DIG, is it harmful? Could she hemorrhage? Sure, but, it's my profession. They're just not going to want to hear you. You're always going to be wrong.
Yes, so they don't want to hear it. And and tell me if you think this is right. This is just intuitive, right? That they all want to say, all the providers or whatever, they all want to say, well, in the best interest of the woman, in the best interest of this woman. But this is really not that. That's what they tell themselves. It's in the best interest of the woman. It's in the best. I hear that almost like a mantra that they have to tell themselves.
Yeah.
Right? But if you can get past that, and no, this is not all about what's in the best interest of the woman, right?
Yeah.
Just read the articles, read whatever. I've read enough, and I'm not even a science. Sorry, nerd. I get it. It's not in the best interest of the woman. Quit feeding yourself that line. And
there's a great Oregon State did the study, and if I can pull it up, I'll send it to you guys. It's just been a while since I looked at it. It was a while back. But I was going to say Oregon State, I love the art, I love the research they did about it. I can't remember the physician that worked on it, but she was great. She basically did some examples where they were injecting DIG, into the fetus, days before. And she did similar examples where they were injecting air. Just do an air injection. Did the same result.
Wow.
It's cheaper. Ditch is expensive.
Yeah.
There's more toxic abilities to the woman. And she was like, you could use air, you could use alcohol. She was doing like 100 cc's of like ethanol.
Wow.
Done.
Wow.
Stop the fetal heart.
How did you get that past the IRB? Was that the difficult step?
I don't remember.
Wow.
I don't remember. Probably because Oregon State probably just used their own IRB and probably pushed it. But
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, you're basically saying we're going to present something much less toxic
Yeah.
that actually doesn't have a large pharmaceutical price tag
Yeah.
associated to it. And there's no potential risk because you're using organic products. And yeah, so
That's the kind of poster I'd like to
pharma
see at a
companies
NAF
hate
meeting.
those
Like I haven't seen it.
stories.
Yeah,
they try to
that's
bury
probably
those
part of it
stories.
too. Yeah,
Say that
yeah,
again?
yeah.
The pharma companies hate those studies, right? They try to bury those studies, you know, so because they'd rather people pay for ditch.
No
It's
profit
expensive.
in air, right? No profit in
Yeah.
air.
Yeah, right. It's a free resource.
But the providers though are really only using dig though at the end of the day because they're scared too, right?
Oh,
of the
God,
of
yeah,
the federal,
completely.
you know, born alive or partial, or whatever,
Yep.
which is the other thing, which also makes things complicated. If you have some who are willing to do the whole convert to breach and everything like Deb
Yeah.
and others, but others are like, oh, I need to sign my intent statement and like watch, like if it doesn't go past the umbilicus. It's you
Yeah.
know, and it creates. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of like. There's a lot of just other, frankly, illegitimate things that are coming into that
Yeah.
space, and I don't know. It makes it. I think it makes everything we have to do a little harder.
Oh, it
Makes it harder
totally
for them.
does.
It makes it harder.
Yeah, it totally does. And I just think, I don't know. I think that's one of those arguments. I can't remember the name of the physician. Actually, I'm getting older. My brain's getting weaker. One of two. I'm trying to remember these doctors'
Wasn't
names.
I
and I'm
just
like,
talking about my Alzheimer's? Don't even let her go there. Don't even start with, no.
Who's the doctor that's accredited for DIG? He's out of the Bay Area. Gosh, I can't remember him. Jackie, and I can't remember her last name. It's her clinic in the Bay, but she's...
Jackie Barbick.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the doctor there...
I don't think I know the physicians there.
I can't remember his name.
Jackie who?
Jacqueline Barbick runs family planning
Of Oakland or
specialist
something,
in
right?
Oakland.
Family
Yeah.
planning of Oakland or
Yeah,
something. Specialty group.
They're very close with Linda and ABR.
Yeah. Well, they sit like 6 blocks from each other.
Mm.
So, but whoever works for Jackie, their medical director, if you look him up, he's one of the accrediting physicians to starting Edge. And so, you know, I remember having some conversations with him where you're like, I'm trying to go to the source of sort of who was involved with promoting this, all of these clinics.
Yeah.
And even he has sort of stepped out of really being a huge advocate now for DIG. And so, but it takes time, you know, and like you said, I think a lot of the physicians are scared. So, yeah. When do you guys fly back?
Well, I'm going back tonight,
Oh.
like late red eye, but
I'm
Spending the
hanging
night
around for
tomorrow.
a while.
Oh, you're hanging around for a
I'm
while.
hanging around for a while.
Nice.
See ya.
Do you have anything fun planned?
We'll see.
Ooh,
Potential.
nice. That's great. Good.
Sacramento area or back to the Bay?
Santa Cruz area?
Oh, nice. That's a nice area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you native California?
Yes.
No, all right.
I was born in Long Beach Hospital.
oh really?
Yep.
Where are you?
I'm a native California too. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you grow up there? Or?
Just no, we kind of lived in Southern California for a long time, then moved to the East Coast for a while, and then sort of back. We kind of landed. I went to high school at Westlake in LA, like Westlake, Thousand Oaks area, and then moved up to Santa Barbara, and then all the way up to Northern California. So I've been all through California. Yeah.
Not a bad place to go all through, right?
No, it's true.
How about you, Kevin?
My dad worked for the railroad, so we got moved around like military children.
Uh-huh.
So I lived all over the United States up until my 20s and then settled in the Midwest for a while. So came out here in 1990, I guess it was. So it's home. But always been in Northern California. This area.
Whereabouts? No.
Oh, here.
Okay.
Yeah. The foothills.
Always. Okay.
Yeah, not even Sacramento. Yeah, great place to raise family.
How did you two meet?
Oh, let's see. I guess through LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's the biotech in this area is relatively small. There's a pretty good cluster around U.C. Davis, of course, but even with that, you can kind of, on your fingers, so many are going concerned. So I've watched Cate since she pretty much put the sign up in front of the building. She's close to the DMV, so like the first time we drove by, I was like, what the heck is, you don't go to Placerville and see somebody who's working to sell, anything.
It's true.
So, I was with another company that was in making devices that make buffy coat, and they do self-separation. Sits in a centrifuge and spins. So when that kind of ran its course, I reached out to Cate, and things went from there. So.
Yeah. It's good. We've got a good team of people. You met two great ones, so yeah.
Loved Megan when we met her. I just had a good feel.
Yeah, good.
I get a feel from people.
Yeah,
just like I got a feel from Linda.
Yeah, it's cold.
Got the opposite
It's
feel
the wind.
from
The wind.
Megan.
The
Yeah.
wind comes in.
Oh gosh, and I wasn't ready for that with our.
Oh no, because like NAF's super positive, and everyone's like really happy to be together, and then there's like this cold chill that comes in from around the corner.
What's that gust of wind?
Yeah, it's true. Parent's not nearly as brass. Have you talked to Parent at all?
Yeah. It's almost like a good cop, bad cop routine that they got going.
Yeah, it's true.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
And Parent typically is kind of the buffer who's kind of, with Linda, kind of like, let me talk, kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it really comes and goes through Linda, and so it's just kind of, I think the clinics have sort of felt that, and they just feel it. I don't really know that they've expanded their clinic reach much. Do you bump into clinics in LA, clearly
They have San Diego, and they're in tight with San Diego. There's no budging out of San Diego. I don't know who they had to kill or who they had to but then
sorry, Robert, I'm such a newbie to it, but what in Baltimore, what I felt was people that our clients are very loyal for whatever reason. I don't know. So I don't.
Some staff. Not that I know so much on the Planned Parenthood side, but I wouldn't be surprised. There are some staff in the past that have been on the payroll with ABR. I mean, like there's like well enough known.
Oh, wait a minute, I didn't follow that. So
like a nursing director or somebody who's literally like a paid employee, but they're like a paid.
Are they doing procurement, or they're just sitting there holding the fort down?
Like an advisory role. But they're tied enough to.
Yeah, I don't have someone. Yeah, you can go ahead and.
From like an advisory role. But for a long time, there were some clinics that, because they had paid advisors that were sitting on boards for these clinics, they were also an advisor to ABR.
Oh, okay.
You were just never going to go anywhere with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I just can't imagine those days are really still happening. It feels like a wild west.
That was the old model. Don't pay the clinic, just pay the one person at the clinic.
Yeah, like it's just like I just feel like those days are kind of done. Yeah, like having an apartment in Hawaii that's paid for. I mean, it's just kind of like it just I don't know.
Maybe that's why she's so grumpy. Those days of paid apartments or condos in Hawaii are gone.
Yeah.
So whatever reason she got.
Their taxes are public, by the way, because they're nonprofit. You can pull their taxes. And you can see the Lexuses that are paid for. You can see it all. It's just public.
Have a good one, okay?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Stop. Okay.
No, don't stop. It helps me. It helps me understand
The Lexis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what?
So.
I just didn't understand her, but now I'm getting a picture.
It's part of the landscape.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think it's just different. I mean, I don't know. I know Linda was a nurse at some point. I can't remember for where or for who. I just can't remember. But never
Yeah, she
involved
told
with any
me she
clinics
did.
like that. Never involved with any. Never worked for any clinics. I don't recall any of that. I can't remember if it was a hospital or something. But she was a nurse.
So her heart's not really there. Her passion's not really there. It's just about the money.
Yeah,
It sounds like. It's about the condo in Hawaii. It's about the Lexus versus what I'm hearing from you. That's
Karen's super passionate about the science side. Like she's genuine about it. I mean, but I never ever felt that from Linda even 15 years ago. You know, I just never, and it's still the same way. Like it's just like parents like in it for the cause. It feels like, but Linda's never has been. That's always been my feeling.
Yeah, and you know, I can see where the lines can blur. I mean, there is so much money to be made in it, so that it can be tempting to just. I mean, don't you think?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think.
Is she lazy?
Oh my gosh, you said that.
Well, I mean,
No,
I know a lot of
he-
smart people that are really lazy.
Yeah, no. Oh my gosh. Okay, you're brilliant.
He's like, I knew this.
Yeah. And I'm the person that thinks I can read people. Get out of here. Oh my gosh.
Well, if you think
I don't
of
remember saying that.
No.
she was one of the only players in the game, and coming to her, she gets really comfortable in that for 10 years or whatever, and then the competition slowly starts coming in, and customer expectations. It's hard to let go of it. I mean, at that point in your life, a lot of people aren't willing to try something. Going, well, I need to go back and get a job now. It's not going to happen. So you make do until you are ready to stop. She's not ready to stop it.
Yeah.
That's what my feeling is, that I call them like a creature of the 1980s, because I mean there was a clip that we were talking to it now. They said, yeah, we just had to
Kind of
install.
visually too,
They said
right?
we had to install a fax machine for them. The clinic had to install a fax machine for ABR.
Oh yeah.
Because that's all they use.
They don't
Yeah.
use computers.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't. Unless something changed recently, but they don't. You know, they don't even have a website. You know that, right? They don't have a website.
Yeah. No, nothing.
Nothing.
Which, I mean, there's maybe an argument for not having a website.
I mean, but it's just really. I think it's like Kevin said. I think for a long time they could kind of be we're the only person to come to. And I think that there's some part of their sort of bitter and angerness towards companies like us that are kind of making them work harder, making their client. Maybe the clinics are asking more of them, and they're just kind of like, God, it was like the good old days where we didn't have to pay anybody.
Yeah.
The clinics,
Oh my
were
gosh.
just totally,
And we're now. I see
Yeah,
why
like
she
we're
doesn't
raising.
like me.
Yeah, we're raising the bar.
We're raising the bar. We're willing to pay for
Yeah.
those specimens. We're
Right,
willing
and
to
I'm sure
make
she
it
wishes we
profitable.
wouldn't, because
Oh my
then it would be
gosh,
easier
yeah.
for her, So I think that's part of it.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's a big piece.
Yeah, I get it. Maybe she won't have 2 Lexi.
Right.
She'll only have 1.
Right.
Instead of 3 condos, she might only have 1 in Hawaii.
Right. I think
my gosh.
that's pretty much. Yeah. So and I guess I just feel like it's. I mean, no one knocks being successful, but I think I think it's like where you give back. We're really adamant givers in regards to that, and so it's. I think that I'm about paying it forward. So I think that there's just a big polar difference there. But I'm sure probably the clinic actually had to pay for that fax line. I'll bet you they did.
Yeah.
I'll bet you they did. I wouldn't be surprised if they told you they had to pay the bill. They're probably
Do you know for
They
sure?
were.
Do you
I don't know, but all I know is that the medical director, they were already talking about, could we work out something different? You guys going because they were already unhappy with the relationship.
I see why when we're negotiating our contracts, they're acting a little surprised that.
Oh, I'm sure that you'd give them anything.
Exactly. Now I get it, and I'm thinking, well, okay, it doesn't cost you that much.
Right.
Your cost is minimal.
Yeah.
And we're going to pay you top dollar. And I'm okay with that. No wonder they're acting.
What's wrong with this?
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're a little suspicious. Like, really? You're gonna? Makes sense now.
Yeah, and I think that's a big piece. But I don't think ABR's in that many clinics. I mean, I'm
Maybe
going to
like
guess
6.
about that. You know, their reach is pretty small. I mean, you know, ours is like 6 times that, at least, maybe 10. I don't know. So it's just, it's I feel like they're just, you know, they just, it's, I don't know. You know, and I just kind of feel like when you're good to people, they're good to you back.
Yeah, it's
And when
the
you try to
perspective
screw
that you
people,
bring.
It doesn't really breed any sort of success, you know. So I think that's where their struggle is. Somebody was telling me recently that they see Linda everywhere, like in all these clinics. Have you, when you travel around the clinics, do you see her, like the conferences and stuff? Do you see her? Somebody was telling me.
We have only ever seen them at NAF. No.
Yeah.
And we were hitting some of the internal PP meetings pretty hard, like earlier this year, to really network with the medical directors and get in good with them. No sign of them anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, so, I don't know, maybe Linda just wants to travel, I don't know. Maybe she's like, I've got a trip, I'm going to go
I'm going to Hawaii and I'll see you later.
Whatever clinic fits her geographical preferences.
Yeah, she used to take like 6 months off a year.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean with 5 employees, that's like a fifth of your like, that's 20% of your staff. So I just think, I you know, and like when people talk about lifestyle businesses, I think that's pretty typical. Like they're just kind of happy with right where it is and just keep it that way. But I think that they're probably pretty unhappy with you guys and us from the standpoint of rocking that boat and making it harder for them.
Okay, well, how about we agree to, let's just agree to rock the boat.
I know, right? I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, and I think it's so funny, right? Like it's like if they were to walk by here and see us having dinner, not in the end of the day, right? But if they were, they'd be like, I just don't get it. Why are you guys even having dinner together? It's like, this is why you don't get it, right? It's just that there's not that synergy. So like working together, you're trying to create strong partnerships. There's just like burning bridges and torching houses. So, yeah. Okay, with that I will stop.
We agree on so many things, is what I say.
Why stop, Kate? Why stop?
I know. Well, and I just, you know, like I said, I do believe on the positive, I'll end on the positive, I do believe that Perrin is someone who's really, she's in it for the science, she really is. And I think that, you know, but it's just, it sort of stops with her. And it's funny because I've met researchers that say the exact same thing. I'm like, gosh, I really like, you know, when I talk to Perrin, God, I've talked to Linda and it's awful. I've heard, you know, or talked to their other staff and it's like they don't know what they're doing. And Perrin's great, you know. I've heard that a lot from researchers.
Yeah, that was the feeling that I got. So that's why I was shocked when I talked to Linda. It just was such the opposite.
Yeah.
But no, the positive note is that we've met. I'm so thankful to
Me
Megan.
too. Thank you guys so much for coming up here to meet with us. Too.
Not a
I
problem.
know you were in town doing
Our
business, but I'm
pleasure.
sure we're pretty far out of your way enough that I appreciate the drive.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. And next time we're in LA, I will definitely ping you guys and let us know we're headed down that way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we have some good things in front of us, action items to get going.
Do you have a business card
I
with
do.
you?
Actually, I just like passed it over here.
I think I dropped my wallet along the way. I'm not going to get freaked
Like
out.
entirely?
Yes, I think so. Hoover. I think I dropped it in the Hoover. I'm not sure. I'm just...
You don't even want to look right now?
No, I don't. You know what? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Why should I spoil this moment?
Well, thank you for enjoying it with us.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll be in touch, guys.
Yes.
And we look forward to it.
Thank you.
And I think we'll create a good partnership together.
I do too.
Yeah.
You're the last person standing, and you're gonna stand forever.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. It was so good to meet you.
And when next time you go to Hillary's house, will you invite me
Oh,
over?
I definitely will. I definitely will. I hope I get to go to Hillary's house.
You will. You will.
I hope so.
You're the lady.
Yeah, my sister the other day did a bunch of work with Nancy Pelosi on this bill for Medicare, and I was like so excited to see her photograph with Democrats. I'm like, now next is Hillary.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know what? If you could blah 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 blah. Is that fabulous?
I think that, you know, I'm about paying it forward, you know, so So I think that there's just a big polar difference there. But I'm sure probably the clinic actually had to pay for that fax line. I'll bet you they did.
Yeah.
I'll bet you they did. I wouldn't be surprised if they told you they had to put the bill. They're probably
Do you know for
They
sure?
were.
Do you
I don't know, but all I know is that the medical director, they were already talking about, could we work out something different? You guys going to, because they were already unhappy with the relationship.
I see why when we're negotiating our contracts, they're acting a little surprised that.
Oh, I'm sure that you'd give them anything.
Exactly. Now I get it, and I'm thinking, well, okay, it doesn't cost you that much.
Right.
Your cost is minimal.
Yeah.
And we're going to pay you top dollar, and like I'm okay with that. No wonder they're acting.
What's wrong with this?
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're a little suspicious. Like, really? You're gonna? Oh, it makes sense now.
Yeah, and I think that's a big piece. But I don't think ABR's in that many clinics. I mean, I'm going to
Maybe
guess
like 6.
about that.
Yeah.
You know, their reach is pretty small. I mean, ours is like 6 times that, at least, maybe 10. I don't know. So it's just, it's I feel like they're just, they just, I don't know. And I just kind of feel like when you're good to people, they're good to you back.
It's
And when
the
you try to
perspective
screw
that you
people,
bring.
It doesn't really breed any sort of success, So I think that's where their struggle is. Somebody was telling me recently that they see Linda everywhere, like in all these clinics. When you travel around the clinics, do you see her, like the conferences and stuff? Do you see her? Somebody was telling me.
We've only ever seen them at NAF. No.
Yeah.
And we were hitting some of the internal PP meetings pretty hard, like earlier this year, to really network with the medical directors and get in good with them. No sign of them anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. Maybe Linda just wants to travel. I don't know. Maybe she's like, I've got a trip. I'm gonna go.
I'm going to Hawaii, and I'll see you later.
Whatever clinic fits her geographical preferences.
Yeah, she used to take like 6 months off a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, with 5 employees, that's like a fifth of your work staff. Like that's 20% of your staff. So I just think, and like when people talk about lifestyle businesses, I think that's pretty typical. Like they're just kind of happy with right where it is and just keep it that way. But I think that they're probably pretty unhappy with you guys and us from the standpoint of rocking that boat and making it harder for them.
Okay, well, how about we agree to? No, let's just agree to rock the boat.
I know, right? I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, and I think it's so funny, right? Like, it's like if they were to walk by here and see us having dinner, not in the end of the day, right? But if they were, they'd be like, I just don't get it. Why are you guys even having dinner together? It's like, this is why you don't get it, right? It's just that there's not that synergy. So like working together, you're trying to create strong partnerships. There's just like burning bridges and torching houses. So, yeah. Okay, with that, I will stop.
We agree on so many things, is what I'm saying.
Why stop, Kate? Why stop?
I know. Well, and I just, like I said, I do believe on the positive, I'll end on the positive. I do believe that Perrin is someone who's really, she's in it for the science. She really is. And I think that, but it's just, it sort of stops with her. And it's funny because I've met researchers that say the exact same thing. I'm like, gosh, I really like, when I talk to Perrin, God, I've talked to Linda and it's awful. I've heard, or talked to their other staff and it's like they don't know what they're doing. And Perrin's great, I've heard that a lot from researchers.
Yeah, that was the feeling that I got. So that's why I was shocked when I talked to Linda. It just was such the opposite.
Yeah.
But no, the positive note is that we've met. I'm so thankful to
Me
Megan.
too. Thank you guys so much for coming up here to meet with us too.
Yeah, not a problem.
I know you were in town doing
Our
business, but I'm
pleasure.
sure we're pretty far out of your way enough that I appreciate the drive.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. And next time we're in LA, I will definitely ping you guys and let us know we're headed down that way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we have some good things in front of us, action items to get going.
Do you have a business card
I
with
do.
you?
Actually, I just passed it over here.
I think I dropped my wallet along the way. I'm not going to get freaked
Like
out.
entirely?
Yes, I think so. Hoover. I think I dropped it in the Hoover. I'm not sure. I'm just.
You don't even want to look right now?
No, I don't. You know what? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Why should I spoil this moment?
Well, thank you for enjoying it with us.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll be in touch, guys.
Yes.
And we look forward to it.
Thank you.
And I think we'll create a good partnership together.
I do too.
Yeah.
You're the last person standing, and you're gonna stand forever.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. It was so
Miss you.
good to meet you.
Definitely.
And when next time you go to Hillary's house, will you invite me
Oh,
over?
I definitely will. I definitely will. Yes. I hope I get to go to Hillary's
you.
house.
You will. You will.
I hope so.
You're the lady.
Yeah, my sister the other day did a bunch of work with Nancy Pelosi on this bill for Medicare, and I was like so excited to see her photograph with Democrats. I'm like,
Yeah.
now next is Hillary.
Oh, okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you guys. Have a good
All right.
night.
Okay.
Yeah.